Rebuilding the Immortal Cultivation family. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 801 Awakening. The deacon looked at Li Zhirui with some suspicion. Although Li Zhirui had always lent out contribution points, it was the first time that he had lent out such a large sum of hundreds of thousands. In the past, he had lent it to those clansmen who were about to break through but could not exchange for the golden elixir because of insufficient contribution points. However, since Li Zhirui had said so, no matter how many doubts the deacon had in his heart, he could not question it. Because the difference in status between the two was too great, if he was an elder, he could still ask one more question, but he was just a deacon. After spending some time, Li Zhirui got all the wind spirit root exercises. Of course, those with grades above the 4th level either swore an oath or used the soul jade slip to ensure that they would not be leaked. Li Zhirui was too bothered and chose to swear an oath, which was more time-saving and labor-saving. Then he returned to his own cave with a lot of gains. According to the rules of the family, after breaking through the nascent soul, he was qualified to open a cave on the top of the mountain with the most abundant spiritual energy. But this was not a big deal. Li Zhirui still hoped to complete the exercises as soon as possible. Time passed in a flash, and more than 10 years had passed in the blink of an eye. Li Zhirui still sat cross-legged under the green willows, looking at the purification laws gathered in front of him, and suddenly sighed, saying to himself, "The road to the transformation of the spirit is so difficult to improve. No wonder the Ronqi Yuandan is so valued by those big forces. You know, as the founder, he has all the spirit seeds in his hands, plus the mystery of space. Countless spirit stones have been spent, and in 10 years, Li Zhirui has refined dozens of furnaces of purification Yuandan. Counting the ones refined in the heavenly palace, he has never lacked Yuandan in the past 10 years. In addition to the environment with great advantages such as the spiritual realm, cultivation should have made considerable progress, if not by leaps and bounds. But the fact is not so. Li Zhirui is indeed stronger than he was more than 10 years ago, whether it is the control of the purification law or the increase of his own mana, but there is still a big gap from his expected results. And it is not that Li Zhirui has a problem with his state of mind, or that he has encountered a bottleneck. It is just because the difficulty of cultivation in the transformation of the spirit realm is too great. If the difficulty of cultivation in other realms is a little bit of growth, then the difficulty of cultivation in the transformation of the spirit realm is doubled. Today, you can refine 10 strands of purification Yuan Qi with the help of purification Yuan Dan, but after a few times, you can only refine 9 strands if you take it again. Alice, thinking of this, Li Zhirui's eyebrows and eyes showed a trace of sorrow. Although it will not take decades for Daquing and Xiaoqing to break through one after another, their breakthroughs will only increase Li Zhirui's mana, and will not be of much help to the refining of the heaven and earth Yuan Qi. Of course, the benefits of increasing mana are not small. At least Li Zhirui can spend less time absorbing and polishing mana. You know, if you want to transform your soul into a Yang God and thus trigger the Ascension Thunder Tribulation, you need to refine about 36,500 strands of Yuan Qi. Originally, according to Li Zhirui's calculations, he increased his cultivation speed by 1 or 2 times by taking purification Yuan Dan. If nothing unexpected happens, he can cultivate to the perfection of the transformation of the spirit in about 300 or 400 years. After accumulating for another 100 years, he can directly receive the Thunder Tribulation. In the Zuanian realm, there is a huge advantage in the breakthrough of the transformation of the spirit into the refining of the void. That is, as long as you reach the perfect state, you can sense the way of heaven and receive the Thunder Tribulation. But now it seems that Li Zhirui's calculation has a huge problem, and it will be delayed for at least 200 or 300 years. Although Li Zhirui is much faster than other spiritual cultivators, and he is young enough, less than 1,000 years old now, and has a lifespan of thousands of years. But compared with the time he expected, it is still a lot longer, which makes Li Zhirui a little depressed, because everyone knows that the sooner the breakthrough, the better. After all, the more you practice, the more difficult it will be, and the longer it will take to break through. Thinking about this, a faint gray gas suddenly filled Li Zhirui's sea of consciousness, making his mood more and more uneasy. And this, in turn, gave rise to the growth of gray gas. Buzz! The purification law that was melted into the soul suddenly reacted, and the spiritual light was shining. The gray gas could not continue to spread in the sea of consciousness and began to fight against the purification spiritual light. At this time, Li Zhirui also calmed down and began to actively stimulate the purification law. The gray gas, which was originally nourished by his thoughts, suddenly became rootless duckweed, and finally disappeared completely under the illumination of the purification spiritual light. Li Zhirui exhaled a breath of foul air and smiled bitterly. I didn't expect that I would have a mind obsession. Li Zhirui was very satisfied with the powerful purification law. Although it did not have a strong killing power, it had a great restraining effect on the inner demon. He did not dare to say that he would no longer be afraid of the inner demon in the future, but at least compared with other cultivators, Li Zhirui had a stronger ability to fight back. This incident also reminded Li Zhirui that he could not blindly pursue the fusion of Yuanqi, and the state of mind was equally important. Go see Zhaoqing and Xiaokeng, the howling moon silver wolf that Li Chengshu asked Li Zhirui to take care of successfully broke through the 4th level a few years ago. However, he did not show up in person, but asked Zhaoqing and others to help. It was not that Li Zhirui was proud of his status, but that after he broke through the transformation of the spirit, his aura became much stronger. When others were undergoing the tribulation, he had to stay far away to avoid the heavenly tribulation. In this way, if something really happened, it would be better to be close and take action in time. Speaking of which, Zhaoqing is still upgrading his bloodline, but judging from his aura, he should be nearing the end. As for Zhaoqing and Xiaokeng, Li Zhirui asked them to force their way out of seclusion, relax and not be too tense. Brother Jiu, you are delaying my practice. Zhaoqing complained with dissatisfaction. Although Xiaokeng on the side did not speak, he also had a look of rejection and unwillingness. Li Zhirui joked, I didn't expect that Zhaoqing, who hated seclusion back then, would take the initiative to ask for it now, but cultivation also requires a combination of work and rest. Just relax with me these few days, regardless of whether they are willing or not. With their current strength, they are no match for Li Zhirui at all, so they still have to listen to him honestly. Brother Jiu, where are we going? Resistance was futile, and Zhaoqing could only accept his fate. Li Zhirui thought about it seriously and said, just take a look at the boundless sea, the vast sea, what's so good about it? Why don't we go directly to the deep sea and hunt a few 4th level water monsters? Speaking of which, I haven't eaten 4th level water monsters for many years, and I still miss the taste. Since he decided to relax, Zhaoqing quickly adjusted his mentality and began to make plans. Generally speaking, the higher the level of the monster, the better the meat, because their bodies are nourished by spiritual energy for a long time. In the eyes of monsters, the same is true for cultivators. Okay, Li Zhirui agreed immediately, took Zhaoqing and Xiaokeng, left Wangxin Island quietly, and headed straight for the boundless sea thousands of miles away. Chapter 802 Harvest. With Li Zhirui's strength, it would not take half an hour to travel thousands of miles, but his main purpose was to relax and relieve his tense state of mind, so he was traveling at the speed of sightseeing. Since I embarked on the path of cultivation, I have been busy and have no time to relax. Now I look at the sea with an appreciative eye and find that I have missed a lot of beautiful scenery. Li Zhirui saw a big sun rising slowly from the bottom of the sea. He saw countless schools of fish playing and fleeing. He saw the raging wind and the surging waves of the boundless sea. These scenes are actually very sparse and ordinary, but they gradually calmed Li Zhirui's mood. Zhaoqing and Xiaokeng also temporarily put aside their hard practice and followed Li Zhirui to appreciate the scenery that they had ignored countless times. It was precisely because of their situation that the 3 of them took 5 days to enter the deep sea after a short journey of thousands of miles. What a rich water spirit! And various laws related to the great way of water. The former can be sensed by the 3 of them, but the latter, only Li Zhirui can see. Among the thousands of laws, Li Zhirui also saw the law of purification, but this is normal, because the law of purification is a derivative of the great way of water. No wonder it can breed countless natural treasures. Li Zhirui sighed with some regret, and said, it's a pity that this huge treasure house has no chance with a human race. Although the near sea is the territory of the human race, it is nothing compared to the elite areas such as the far sea. This is also one of the reasons why the human race has had very few forces in the near sea for countless years. Large forces do not look down on it, and they are also limited by the area of the island, which is far less convenient than the mainland for expansion. Small forces also have to face problems such as occasional water monster invasions and beast tides. If you encounter any water monsters later, you can find a way to solve it yourself. I won't take action, Li Zhirui said. This can also be regarded as a contract between the human race and the sea race. The 4th level sea monsters are not allowed to enter the near sea, and the incarnation monks cannot take action in the far sea. Got it, Zhaoking responded and began to use secret techniques to find the whereabouts of the nearby water monster. His eagle eyes were not for show. After using the secret techniques, he could see scenes hundreds of miles away. Found it, Zhaoking took the lead and rushed towards the direction of the water monster, followed by Zhaoking, and Li Zhirui followed without haste. Bang! As soon as the two sides met, a fierce battle broke out. Li Zhirui restrained his breath and stood in the distance, watching them fight. Zhaoking's offensive was sharp, and he liked to pursue the victory. Once he found a flaw, he would burst out with all his strength, always hoping to decide the outcome in one fell swoop. Zhaoking liked to crush with a general trend, and act after careful planning. As long as he really took action, he intended to take people down directly. However, compared with Zhaoking's rich combat experience, Zhaoking lacked a lot in this regard. This was also the difference between the two. When Zhaoking followed Li Zhirui's cultivation was not high. He needed to exert his strength in the battle, and he was even the main force. But by the time he contracted Zhaoking, Li Zhirui was already a cultivator in the late giant stage, and his cultivation speed was extremely fast. A dragon that had just broken out of its shell, no matter how extraordinary its bloodline was only at the 1st level and could not help at all, so Zhaoking had very little combat experience. Well, it seems that this sudden thought of relaxing has yielded a lot of gains, Li Zhirui said with a chuckle. Not only did he solve his own state of mind problem, but he also saw Zhaoking's shortcomings, and by the way, he also harvested a 4th level water monster. Chief, someone discovered a secret realm that is being born in the infinite sea. What did you say? After hearing the words of the elder, Li Mingzi immediately stood up from his chair and asked, are you sure that the tribe member discovered a secret realm? The tribe member is waiting outside the hall now. He said he saw it with his own eyes and has a record of the photo stone in his hand, the elder replied quickly. Let him in. Li Mingzi was rarely so excited. The main reason for this is that the Li family has too few secret realms. Only 3 or 5, which is not worthy of the identity of the Huishan family. Although Li Zhirui can open up a spiritual realm, the difference between a spiritual realm and a secret realm is not small. The biggest difference is the area of the two. Even the worst 1st level secret realm is hundreds of miles in size. They don't know the specific reason. It is said that it is because the secret realm is attached to the fetal membrane of the world, which can absorb the chaotic spiritual energy and strengthen itself. In the secret realm, except for a few areas, the spiritual energy in other places is mostly equivalent to the grade. There are also places like spiritual veins and spiritual caves where the spiritual energy gathers richly. In other words, getting a secret realm is equivalent to getting a spiritual land of hundreds of miles square. As long as you lay out a boundary formation or use a boundary stone, you can control the secret realm and enter and exit freely. The key to the former controlling the secret realm is to plant a spiritual plant of a higher grade in the secret realm, use it as the core of the formation, and control the entire secret realm. The latter is very simple. Directly integrate most of the boundary stones into the secret realm, and then use the remaining part to refine a magic tool to open and close the portal. In all these years, the Li family has only accidentally obtained a boundary stone. If the grade of this secret realm is relatively low, then naturally they will not use such precious things. Speaking of which, the tribesman who had been waiting at the door, after hearing the summons, walked into the hall with great excitement, bowed and greeted, saying, "Greetings to the tribe leader and elders. Where's the secret realm you mentioned?" "Do you know the grade of the secret realm?" Li Mingzi asked him to sit down, and then asked impatiently. "The secret realm is 300 miles southeast of Banyan Island. I don't know the grade, because the place where the secret realm appeared is actually in the sea water. I happened to encounter it when I was chasing a second-level water monster," the tribesman reported truthfully. "I will gather a few golden elixirs to go with you now. In a moment, another team of tribesmen will follow," Li Mingzi promised. "The family will never erase your contribution to discovering the secret realm. After the grade is determined, the reward will be given to you." "Thank you, tribe leader," the tribesman was very happy. Wasn't he in such a hurry to come back just for this reward? Li Mingzi nodded, and immediately summoned 7 free Giantans with a clan leader's jade token, and followed him to the sea where the secret realm appeared. Half a quarter of an hour later, a huge third-order spirit ship took off and chased after the signpost left by the previous group of clansmen. The spirit ship is an extremely complex magical instrument. In order to build a spirit ship that can carry more clansmen, the Li family has put a lot of effort in this regard. Fortunately, it succeeded in the end. Cloud Whale, this is the name specially given by the Li family for the new spirit ship. The number of people it can carry is 3 times higher than that of an ordinary third-order spirit ship, and the speed has not decreased. Chapter 803 Preparation. Li Zhirui took Zhao King and Xiao Kang to play around in the boundless sea. Not only did he completely relax his mind, but he also found 2 treasures in the distant sea. One is a 4th-level spiritual plant, but its effect is very special. It has the power to purify the water. If it is planted in the purification secret realm, it will definitely make the law go to the next level. The second is a stone egg. According to Li Zhirui's research, its predecessor should be a dragon egg born by some 5th-level dragon beast, but for some reason, it has completely lost its vitality and fell into the hands of a 4th-level water monster by chance. It originally planned to take it when it encountered a bottleneck to help itself break through, but before that day came, it was killed by Xiao Kang. And the stone egg naturally fell into Xiao Kang, which can make his bloodline go further. As for whether it can break through the 6th level, it is still unknown. When Li Zhirui and the other 2 returned to Banyan Island, they happened to see the Cloud Whale spirit ship leaving. You know, the Cloud Whale spirit ship can carry hundreds of people. If you don't care about comfort or not, it is not impossible to force thousands of people. So since the construction of the Cloud Whale spirit ship, it will only be used when a large number of clan members rotate. I haven't been on Banyan Island for a month or 2. Could it be that something big happened to the family? Li Zhirui was a little curious, but he didn't care. Because he didn't receive any news, it means that the family can solve it and he doesn't need to take action. Okay, you should practice, and I won't disturb you. After that, Li Zhirui disappeared. Did you see how Brother 9 disappeared just now? Zhao King suddenly asked. Xiao King shook his head and said, Brother 9's strength is getting stronger and stronger. Before, Li Zhirui performed the escape technique, and there were still some traces to be found. Maybe there are still some now, but they can't see them. So we can't fall behind. Zhao King looked full of fighting spirit. He will break through in a few decades. After that, the wind around him was stirred, and he turned into a green light and plunged into Banyan Island. Xiao Kang lowered his eyes. He had too little time to practice. Even if he had extraordinary qualifications, he couldn't catch up at present, but he wouldn't be too late. And when he breaks through the transformation of the spirit, Xiao Kang's heart is full of strong self-confidence. He will never fall behind others. This will even be the stage where he surpasses Da Qing and Xiao Qing. This is Xiao Kang's confidence in his own bloodline, especially after getting the stone egg. He is originally a top-level bloodline of the 5th rank. With a stone egg as a primer, Xiao Kang believes that he has successfully promoted to the 6th rank. However, after Li Zhirui separated from the 2, the first thing he did when he returned to the spiritual realm was to dig out a 3-mile square lake next to the green willow and place the obtained Zuanling floating wood in the center of the lake. This is a very peculiar spiritual plant. It does not need to take root in the soil, and the whole plant can be submerged in the water. After placing the floating wood, Li Zhirui immediately noticed that the purification law nearby became more active. Between the collisions, more purification laws were born. It's a pity that purification spiritual plants are too rare. Otherwise, if dozens of them were planted in the spiritual realm, how rich would the purification laws be? Li Zhirui sighed. However, he also knew in his heart that everything is too much, and sometimes too much is not a good thing. Abandoning this unreliable idea, Li Zhirui began to look for a new place to practice, and finally decided on the border between the green willow and the pool. He casually created a bluestone of more than 1 foot in size and moved the futon used for practice here. Li Zhirui did not spend time to build a cave. A futon was enough. The spiritual realm you mentioned is in the sea area. After arriving at the destination, the giant and tribe members immediately used their spiritual sense to explore. The sea was vast, and all directions were azure blue. There was no accurate reference nearby, so it was good enough for him to determine a range. Found it. Before the tribe member could speak, a giant opened his eyes, his tone full of surprise. Everyone immediately drove the spirit boat closer. A certain giant used his pupil technique to see the secret realm below that was emitting spiritual light through the seawater. It's right below, but the secret realm has not been fully opened yet. Set up a large formation first to prevent it from being discovered by others. Good, the sea area is rich in resources. Because the Li family is in charge of the coastal area, the danger level is not high. Therefore, many casual cultivators will hunt in the infinite sea, not to mention the endless water monsters. If there is a third-level water monster, or a casual cultivator comes here and discovers the secret realm, then there will be another fight. Among them, there is a third-level formation master who quickly sets up a large formation to cover it. Not long after, the Yunjing spirit boat sent by the Li family followed a hidden mark and came nearby. The family has sent someone immediately appeared and flew up to discuss with a clansman on the spirit boat. Because the area of the formation is not large, it is impossible to accommodate so many people, so they can only hide on the spirit boat and wait for the secret realm to open. Everyone waited for several days, and the secret realm that had been emitting white light suddenly shone with light, and the portal slowly took shape. Let's test the grade of the secret realm first. Although the Li family has not discovered a new secret realm in all these years, they have learned the relevant knowledge. After some experiments, the results surprised everyone, because this secret realm is at least the third level. The reason why it is at least is that they don't have higher grade spiritual objects in their hands, so they can't continue testing. Quick! Spread this news back to the family, and ask the clan leader to send more clan members to come, and it would be best if you can invite a Yuaning elder to come and verify the grade of the secret realm again, with the help of the 1,000 miles sound transmission node. This news came to Li Mingzi within a few breaths. Li Mingzi did not hesitate at all, and immediately used the identity jade card to tell this news to all the Jinden clan members, as well as the 3 Yuaning elders Li Chengru, Li Xiangxin and Li Mingayao who stayed in the family. Let all the Jinden clan members who are free go to the secret realm, and if the 3 Yuaning elders are free, invite them to go. In addition, Li Mingzi also set off to fly to the spiritual realm to meet Li Zhirui. What's the matter? Unlike the last 2 clan leaders, Li Mingzi and Li Zhirui were not close, so she rarely came to ask for a meeting. But now she hurried over, looking excited, and must have something important to say. Ruizu, a clan member, discovered a secret realm in the sea. Now after testing, it is at least a third-level secret realm. Li Mingzi succinctly told what she had just done. She added, I am asking to see Ruizu this time to ask you to come forward and let the spiritual ancestors of the family prepare. Once it is confirmed to be a 4th-level secret realm, the spiritual ancestors must set off immediately. After all, the secret realm is open for a limited time. If it is really a 4th-level secret realm, but you can't catch up, it would be a pity. Chapter 804 Control. In addition, Li Mingzi came to ask Li Zhirui to mobilize the family's 4th-level spirit beasts, probably because she was worried that the family's 4th-level spirit beasts would not pay attention to her orders. After all, they are spirit beasts. Although they have lived with cultivators for a long time, some of the personalities are deeply rooted in their bones and cannot be changed, such as obeying the strong and despising the weak. Li Mingzi can use the identity of the clan leader to command the family's Yuaning clan members, but for the 4th-level spirit beasts, this identity does not have much binding force. But when Li Zhirui comes forward, there is no such problem. Regardless of his status and strength, those 4th-level spirit beasts dare not disobey. Well, you have considered it very comprehensively. As long as the grade of the secret realm is confirmed, I will let Zhao King and the others go there. Li Zhirui agreed. Immediately, he told Zhao King and Xia Kang about this matter through the soul transmission, asking them to notify the 4th-level spirit beasts on the island to be ready at any time. At the same time, if it is confirmed to be a 4th-level secret realm, I would like to ask Ancestor King Peng to take the boundary stone and go there to control the secret realm first, and then slowly develop it in the future. After a pause, Li Mingzi said, in addition, there is also the 5th-level puppet of the family, which should also be taken to develop the secret realm. Upon hearing this, Li Zhirui's face showed a hint of appreciation, and praised, very good. You did a good job. It would be fine if there were no monsters in the 4th-level secret realm, but if there were monsters, it would be very likely that a perfect 4th-level monster would be born. I'm afraid there would be more than one. In the face of such powerful monsters, the Li family actually does not have a strong ability to fight. Although the Li family has Li Zhirui, the incarnation of the god, he cannot enter the secret realm due to the restrictions of the secret realm. So at that time, only Li Zhirui, Zhaoqing, and a few other Yuanyings can be allowed to lead the clansmen to develop the secret realm. It is conceivable how dangerous it will be. Therefore, Li Mingzi thought that after confirming that the secret realm was of the fourth order, he would first control it. In this way, it would be much easier for the Li family to enter the secret realm, and they could concentrate their strength to appear in one place instead of being randomly teleported to a corner. First, establish a base, slowly expand outward, and finally clean up the entire secret realm and completely control it. Although this approach is relatively slow and will cost a lot in the process, it is very stable and solid. With the addition of a fifth-order puppet, the casualty rate of the Li family will drop a lot. In addition to the fifth-order puppet of the family, I also have one in my hand. I will take it with me when the time comes. Li Mingzi's eyes flashed with surprise when he heard this, and he said, "Thank you, Ruzu. With two fifth-order puppets, the risk of developing a fourth-order secret realm will be greatly reduced. You go back and prepare. When you have definite news, tell me with a J token." Everything that should be said has been said, and Li Zhirui let Li Mingzi leave first. After all, no matter what the grade of the secret realm is, she, the patriarch, will be very busy. Li Mingzi bowed and greeted, slowly exited the secret realm, and then flew back to the family hall at the fastest speed, waiting for the news. While talking with her and Li Zhirui, Li Chengru had already brought a group of giant people to the place where the secret realm was born. Li Xiangxin was studying the exercises, Li Mingyao was studying the fourth-level Earth Escape Talisman. Both of them were not free and unwilling to come on their own initiative. Although Li Chengru had something to do, it was not a big deal, so he came. After using the method to detect, the results made everyone happy and worried. The happy thing was that this was indeed a fourth-level secret realm, which would have a large number of precious spiritual objects, rich spiritual energy, and a large amount of spiritual fields that could be reclaimed. The worry was that there might be monsters in the secret realm, or natives of other forces. No matter what they were, they had lived in the secret realm with rich spiritual energy for many years. How bad could their strength be? Tell the clan leader immediately, Li Chengru ordered with a serious look. After their series of detections, the portal to the secret realm has dimmed a lot, and it is likely that it will be closed soon. Who knows when this secret realm will appear next time? Don't miss it. The moment Li Mingzi received the news, he told Li Zhirui about it, and he used his soul to transmit the sound, letting the prepared fourth-level spirit beasts set off. It was impossible for Zhaoqing and Xiaoqian to say that they had no objection. They all wanted to retreat and break through the fifth level as soon as possible. Who knew how much time this fourth-level secret realm would delay them? But there was no way. This was Li Zhirui's order. And Li Zhirui also promised that they could choose a fifth-level spirit object in the secret realm. If they didn't find one they were satisfied with, they could choose one from his treasure house. As for the other fourth-level spirit beasts, they didn't have such good treatment, but Li Zhirui didn't ignore them. He promised to give them 5 bottles of top-grade treasure pills, each to make up for their delayed cultivation when they were developing the secret realm. Don't resist, I'll take you there. On the way, Xiaoqiang, you refine the boundary stone, and then you can directly control the secret realm, and you can also go in with a boundary artifact, Zhaoqing said to several fourth-level spirit beasts. Zhaoqing's control over the wind has reached the realm of perfection, so he can still arrive at his fastest speed with everyone flying to ensure that the secret realm will not be closed. As for the latter, in order to save time, the method of using the boundary stone is very simple. It can be directly divided into 2 parts, large and small. The large one is integrated into the secret realm, and the small one is plasticized and put into a few restrictions. After hearing this, several people relaxed, and then they felt a breeze holding them up. Before they could react, the scenery around them began to change very quickly. Even with their eyesight, they couldn't see it clearly. You can imagine how fast it was. In just half a minute, they arrived at a place where the secret realm appeared. Zhaoqing took a large piece of boundary stone that Xiaoqiang had cut off on the road in his hand and told everyone, I'll go first. When the magic weapon reacts, you will take people in immediately and set up a defensive formation. I will use the positioning magic weapon to find you. Although he is a spirit beast, Zhaoqing is backed by Li Zhirui, and his strength is also the strongest among everyone, so naturally there is no objection. After that, Zhaoqing flew straight into the portal of the secret realm alone, while the others were all waiting outside. On the other side, Banyan Island also sent more tribesmen over. After all, they wanted to build a base, and they needed a lot of resources. The previous waves of people brought limited spiritual objects, but they brought a large amount of supplies, and they came at the right time. Because they haven't entered yet. Several large cloud whale ships hovered in the air, quietly waiting for news from Zhaoking. Less than half an hour after Zhaoking entered, the portal slowly dissipated and disappeared between heaven and earth. Not long after that, the boundary-setting magic weapon held in Zhaoking's hand suddenly responded. Get ready. Follow me into the secret realm, Zhaoking shouted loudly. Leave some tribesmen to guard the nearby waters, and no living creatures are allowed to approach this place. Chapter 805 Direction. At the same time, send a team back to Banyan Island to report the situation here to the family, and let the family continue to send people here, Li Zhirui added. Everyone present was both surprised and a little uneasy. As the first group of people to enter a fourth-level secret realm, they thought they would have a lot of gains. But at the same time, this secret realm also contains huge dangers. Although there are already several Yuanying here, their lives are still in danger. Soon, one order after another was given, and the people who returned to the family to report also left immediately. Zhaoking activated the boundary-setting magic weapon. Buzz! The space in front of them trembled slightly, and the space portal that had dissipated reappeared under Zhaoking's control. From then on, the secret realm was under the control of the Li family. But whether it can be effectively developed depends on the next cleansing operation. The 9 people whose names were just mentioned will stay in the outside world, and the others will follow me into the secret realm. With Zhaoking's order, 100 or 200 people followed him and Li Zhirui and slowly walked into the portal. It didn't take long for Banyan Island to get the news. The elders who had been waiting in the family hall began to discuss the development. I think we should introduce independent cultivators and vassal forces. This will not only allow the secret realm to be developed faster, but also reduce the casualties of the family, an elder said. I object. Letting them participate is a bargain for them, another elder immediately objected. I object too. The family has tens of thousands of clansmen, hundreds of Jindan, several Yuanying, plus 2 fifth-level puppets. It's just a 4th-level secret realm. There is no need to let outsiders benefit. The elders quarreled fiercely, each with their own reasons, and no one could convince anyone. Quiet, Li Mingziking shouted, and everyone couldn't help but give face to the clan leader. They kept silent, and all their eyes were focused on her, wanting to know what she thought. This secret realm will be developed by the family alone. There is no need to let other cultivators participate. The Li family has been too comfortable in recent years, and once it is comfortable, many bad things will breed. If not for the faction of each clan leader being selected from the secular clan members, and some elders being driven out to ensure a certain vitality, the Li family would have been like other forces, and even started internal fighting and internal consumption. Of course, this was also the effect of Li Zhirui's suppression. And you have to know that this is the rule he proposed. If the clan members below do not abide by it, he can dismiss the clan leader at any time and re-elect. But after all these years of development, the Li family has accumulated a lot of problems, and Li Mingzi has been thinking about how to solve them. Now that this 4th-level secret realm has appeared at the right time, Li Mingzi can use the development of the secret realm to train and temper the new generation of clan members, and change their problems of being content with pleasure, arrogance. Called all the Jindan clan members of the family in Banyan Island. Except for those who are in the closed death pass, everyone else must go to the secret realm to alternate an experience, and contribute to the development of the secret realm. Li Mingzi said loudly. The elders were shocked when they heard this. Someone asked, Patriarch, in this way, those important strongholds in Banyan Island will lose their protection? What should we do if there are scoundrels invading? Take turns. As for how to arrange this matter reasonably, it depends on your ability. Li Mingzi handed over this tedious matter. She only needed to do the final review. Li Zhirui knew the family's development plan at the first time. He did not express his opinion on this. Li Mingzi did a good job. Why should he join in the fun? 2 flowers bloom, each with its own beauty. At this time, in the secret realm, 100 or 200 cultivators appeared in a dense forest. Looking around, there were only thick and tall giant trees, and the environment was dark and cool. The spiritual energy is rich. Although it is not as good as the family's spiritual vein, it is worse than the general 4th-level spiritual vein. After sensing it, Li Zhirui said, No 4th level monsters have been detected within a radius of 10 miles. When everyone heard this, they were relieved. If a war broke out just after they came in, the casualties would be very heavy. Fortunately, they were lucky and did not encounter such a situation. Then, one by one, they looked around with curious and greedy eyes. Since there was no danger, could they collect some spiritual objects nearby first? They saw quite a few spiritual objects. Although judging from the spiritual light, most of them were 1st and 2nd level things, but how could they guarantee that they were definitely worthless? But this place is not suitable for building a base. Send a team out to explore the surroundings first, find a suitable location, and set up a large formation as soon as possible. Xiao Kang also withdrew his spiritual sense. Seeing everyone's reaction, he frowned slightly and said, "You can collect the spiritual objects here, but you must hand over 30% to the family. If there are rare or extinct spiritual objects in the outside world, you must hand them over. I will only give you a quarter of an hour, and you cannot leave 10 miles. And this is only once. You must obey my orders in the future." With Xiao Kang's words, everyone was excited and rushed in all directions. "Leave the exploration of the nearby terrain to me," Xiao Yu, who rarely spoke, suddenly said. "Then I'll trouble you." Xiao Yu nodded, and instantly turned into a silver light and disappeared into the lush forest. "Let them scatter. What if they encounter danger?" Li Chengru said with some worry. Xiao Kang sighed and said, "They risk their lives to come here for these spiritual creatures. If we don't give them a little sweetness at the beginning, they probably won't be able to hold on for long." Li Chengru thought about it and realized that it was true. It was better to let them go than to block them. If they acted stealthily, it would be even more dangerous. "I don't know where Xiao Qing is." The positioning magic weapon did not show his direction, which meant that the two sides were far away. You know, what they brought in was a 4th level magic weapon, which could give directions within a radius of 3,000 miles. But this also shows that the secret realm is very large. At least 3,000 miles square. About half an hour later, Xiao came back intact. 100 miles to the northeast, there is a plain with an 80 zang lonely mountain in it. The mountain is wide and suitable for building a base. Before Xiao Kang showed his joy, Xiao Yu added, "But this mountain is occupied by a 4th level monster and its tribe. How strong are they?" Xiao Kang asked with a frown. Xiao Yu shook her head. "I dare not get too close, for fear of being discovered by them, but I estimate that their strength is not too bad, because the spiritual energy of that plain is very rich. If you don't have some strength, you are not qualified to occupy such a precious land. How about changing places?" Li Shangru made a conservative suggestion. Chapter 806 Cleansing. "Don't worry," Xiao Kang shook his head and explained, "Before we went out, Brother Jiu gave me a 5th level puppet to ensure everyone's safety, and we sent so many monks, and sooner or later a battle will break out. It's better to practice with these monsters first. Anyway, there are 5th level puppets to back us up." When Li Chengru heard this, his opposition changed instantly. He was worried about too many casualties among the tribesmen before, but now that he has such a powerful weapon in hand, why hesitate? Everyone listened to the order. "Be strict." After Xiao Kang and the others discussed it, they asked everyone to prepare for the battle, and Xiao Yu led the way to the lonely mountain on the plain. After hearing that the monster they were going to attack next was not bad, the tribesmen were very nervous. They were full of confidence when they came, but now they began to be afraid. After all, who cannot be afraid of death? Attack! A moment later, the Yunjing spirit ship flew in the air, and Xiao Kang stood on the bow and shouted loudly. Because the monks came too suddenly, the monsters in the mountain had no time to prepare. They were in a panic and soon fell into a disadvantage. What made Xiao Kang and others feel at ease was that although there were many people in this tribe, there were only 2 4th level monsters. If they joined hands, they would definitely be able to defeat them. The monsters gradually reacted, but unfortunately, they missed the opportunity. Now Xiao Kang and others have taken the advantage. Roar! Just when Xiao Kang and others were ready to seize the victory and solve the monsters in one fell swoop to establish the first base, a roar that resounded through the sky suddenly came from the mountain. There are still big monsters. Xiao Kang felt a little uneasy, and immediately gathered other tribesmen to carefully guard against this suddenly appearing big monster. When it appeared, the faces of Li Chengru and others changed instantly. Because this was a 4th level perfect, half-step 5th level big monster. If it were not for the restrictions of the secret realm law, it might really be possible for it to successfully break through. Unfortunately, it met someone from the Li family. But even if the Li family hadn't come, it would have died of old age at the 4th level because of the restrictions of the secret realm. Fortunately, Xiao Kang had a 5th level puppet in his hand, otherwise, there was no telling how many people would come out to oppose the life and death of this big monster. Since the strongest ones have come out, let's do it. Xiao Kang immediately activated the puppet and commanded it to deal with the big monster, and then clear out the monsters that were hostile to them. Although the 5th level puppet could not cast the law, it could crush the nascent soul even with its magnificent momentum. When the puppet was revealed, the big monster didn't take it seriously, and was extremely angry in his heart. He decided to capture all the cultivators and use them as his blood food. The most important thing was to find out how they entered the secret realm. If they could get in, they could definitely get out, and it also wanted to leave this cage. But what he never expected was that he was no match for the puppet at all. Even if it was just a dead thing, the gap between the two made the big monster understand that the gap between the two was like a natural chasm. It didn't want to die yet, it wanted to break through the 5th level. But Xiao Kang didn't give it a chance to beg for mercy, and cut off its huge head with a single cut. After dealing with the enemy that couldn't resist, Xiao Kang put the puppet away. After all, activating it for one more breath would consume a huge amount of spiritual energy. And if the puppet killed all the other monsters, what were they doing here? Just let the puppet completely solve the secret realm and occupy it. There were endless wails and screams, and the heir on the other side couldn't help but stand up when they heard it. The monsters on the mountain became more chaotic after the leader. They only wanted to escape and had no intention of staying to die. But even so, a large number of monsters still died in the process. Not long after, the battle was over. This battle was a big victory for the Li family, and the casualty rate was very low. The corpses of monsters left all over the ground provided a large amount of spiritual resources, which made everyone love and hate them. They could get more resources, but it was too troublesome. But no matter how troublesome it is, we have to do it. We can't just abandon all these spiritual objects here and waste them in vain, right? Quick, set up a defense formation on the mountain, let the tribesmen take turns to guard it, and let the existing tribesmen recover their magic power as soon as possible to avoid any accidents. Everyone got busy again after hearing this. Not long after, a 4th level defense formation was set up, and Xiao Kang's hanging heart was put down. He murmured to himself, now we just have to wait for Xiao Qing to find us. According to what they had discussed before, the 4 of them were divided into 2 groups, one with the tribesmen to go out to explore and clean up the monsters, and the other stayed here to guard the base. But now Xiao Qing didn't come, so this method could only be delayed. After all, it was a dangerous thing for a Yuanying to walk in the secret realm with a team of Jinden. So 2 people were arranged to act together, so that if they really encountered any accidents, they could help each other. How big is this secret realm? In a certain area of the secret realm, Xiao Qing continued to change the direction helplessly, looking for the traces of Xiao Kang and others. You know, since he entered the secret realm for most of the day, Xiao Qing has been looking for the family's large forces since he integrated the boundary stone into the secret realm. Where? Xiao Qing hurried in the air. In order to reunite with the family as soon as possible, Xiao Qing ignored the various spiritual objects he found on the way, because he knew in his heart that as long as the secret realm was taken, these spiritual objects would all belong to the Li family. Ling. Suddenly, the positioning magic weapon made a crisp and pleasant sound, and at the same time, the spiritual light lit up, marking Xiao Kang's position. Finally found it, at the same time, in different places, Xiao Qing and Xiao Kang said the same thing. Xiao Qing flew to Gushan at the fastest speed. It took him only half an hour to travel a distance of 3,000 miles. The first time he saw Xiao Kang, he ordered, activate the magic weapon now and let the outside tribesmen in. Why? Xiao Kang was a little puzzled. Because there are far more monsters in this secret realm than we imagined, Xiao Qing said with a serious face. He had been running around all day, and although he was very tired, he also saw the situation of the secret realm. This secret realm with a large area and rich spiritual energy could breed a large number of spiritual creatures, and the spiritual creatures in turn cultivated a large number of demon beasts. I know, the matter that could make Xiao Kang react like this was probably not that simple. He did not dare to delay and immediately activated the magic weapon. A portal slowly took shape. Xiao Qing also said, I will mark the coordinates of this place into the magic weapon. In the future, when you come in from the outside world, you will come directly here. Very good. At this time, a large number of tribesmen also came from outside the secret realm. They brought a large number of resources and cultivators, which were exactly what the development of the secret realm lacked. Chapter 807 Killing. Kill. Following Xiaoqing's order, the giant and monks behind him all started to attack, and various attacks flew out, with spiritual light flashing and gathering together, like a torrent of spiritual light, falling from the sky and smashing the monsters in front. The monster tribe in front of them did not have a fourth-level big monster. Facing the army of monks formed by the Li family, they had no ability to resist and could only flee. Unfortunately, with Xiaoqing and Li Changru, two Yuanying, they could not escape at all and were trapped in this area. About a quarter of an hour later, all the monsters died, and the ground was scattered with flesh and blood. A strong smell of blood penetrated into everyone's nose. The injured go back to the cabin to heal, and the others follow me to clean up the battlefield and leave as soon as possible, Li Chengru ordered. The strength of this monster tribe was average and did not cause much damage to them, but not all tribes were like this. Not long ago, the tribesmen led by Xiao Kang and Xiao Yu suffered heavy losses in the encirclement and suppression of a group of monsters. If they had not had the fifth-level puppets in their hands, it is unknown how many people would have survived in the end. It was also because of this incident that they became more cautious in their actions to clean up outside, unlike the arrogance they had before that they could sweep everything with the fifth-level puppets in their hands. Soon, the battlefield was cleaned up, and only the dark red color under the blood and flesh imprint on the ground told others that a war had broken out here. Go back, they have been out for several days, and the continuous battles have made everyone exhausted. It is time to go back to the base to take a good rest for a while. Let's go. Li Chengru nodded, and Xiaoqing controlled the Yunjing spirit ship, while he used his spiritual sense to explore the surroundings to prevent monsters from ambushing. You know, they have been fighting in the secret realm for 2 or 3 months. While a large number of monsters have died, they can no longer hide. So it is no longer like the beginning, when they took the initiative to attack, which often caught the monsters off guard. Now the ambush of the monsters makes them miserable. Some time ago, a group of monsters found their base and summoned a large army of monsters, nearly 10,000 monsters, trying to break through the base and kill everyone. That battle was extremely dangerous. There were only Li Chengru and Xiao Kang in the base, plus more than 100 tribesmen, many of whom were foundation-building monks responsible for logistics, and half of the combat power was outside hunting monsters. A large number of monsters swept in from all directions like a tide, and black waves surged and submerged the entire base. The monsters seemed to have no fear of death, and launched crazy attacks, which made people feel terrified. The defensive array was crumbling under their endless attacks. Li Chengru and Xiao Kang didn't know how many monsters they had killed, and their mana had been consumed by more than half, and other tribesmen had recovered their mana several times. Moreover, there was only one top-grade spirit stone left in the base to activate the 5th-level puppet, and the spiritual energy was completely exhausted after slaughtering a large number of monsters. If this situation continues, the tribesmen in the garrison will either fight to the death or abandon the garrison and temporarily escape from the secret realm with the help of the boundary-setting artifact. Fortunately, at the last moment, Zhaoqing and Xiaoyu rushed back with another group of tribesmen. The 5th-level puppets in their hands were so powerful that they slaughtered more than half of the remaining monsters, and the monsters had to retreat. But after this incident, the Li family's garrison was completely exposed. In order to guard this place, the Li family sent a large number of tribesmen in, most of whom were foundation-building cultivators, because the giant and cultivators who could be mobilized had already come. In addition, the knocking bell of Li Xiangxin and Li Mingyao was also rung to interrupt their retreat. In this way, there were 6 Yuanying in the secret realm, and the 3 teams took turns to exchange, and the defensive strength of the garrison was greatly increased. In addition, various resources were also prepared very abundantly, especially the spirit stones for activating the 5th-level puppets. Li Zhirui specially took 2 top-grade spirit stones to Zhaoqing and Xiaokang. With the 5th-order puppets that can be activated for a long time, the safety of the station is no longer a problem, and there is no need to worry about the siege of monsters. The dangerous situation in the secret realm was also reported back to Banyan Island. Patriarch, why can't the mountain guarding spirit beasts on the island be used? An elder asked with a puzzled look. The Li family has several 4th-order mountain guarding spirit beasts. If they can go to the secret realm, it will definitely greatly relieve the pressure. Li Mingzi's face remained unchanged, and he said lightly, because they are monsters, although they are called mountain-guarding spirit beasts by the Li family. In fact, they are all wild monsters that have not changed, but they were forcibly suppressed by Li Zhirui. Although they have all been restricted by Li Zhirui and can be controlled and enslaved with the help of magic tools, there is still a risk of breaking free. Why don't we withdraw from the secret realm temporarily? Anyway, the secret realm has been controlled by the boundary stone. It won't be too late to clean it up after those ancestors come back and the family's strength becomes stronger, another elder suggested. The solution he had in mind was very simple, which was to wait for Jiang Fengwu, Li Chengxian, and Li Chengshuo to come back. The three of them were not just 3 Yuanyings, but also had their own contracted spirit beasts, a total of 7. Then wait for the contracted spirit beasts of Li Chengru and Li Mingyao to break through the 4th level, then their strength would be very strong. Li Mingyao broke through not long ago, and Li Chengru was because the spirit beast bloodline was only 3rd grade, both of which needed time. If this elder's idea was followed, the Li family would have double-digit Yuanyings by then, plus 2 5th-level puppets, and the dangers in the secret realm would not be a big deal. This idea was recognized by many elders. In their opinion, this was the most reliable and safest way. But wouldn't the investment during this period be wasted? Another elder objected, and it would damage the morale of the family. The elders frowned and hesitated, and what he said was not without reason. Just when they were hesitant and didn't know how to decide, the situation in the secret realm changed again. In a land unknown to Zhaoking and others, a large number of 4th-level monsters gathered here. Does anyone know the origins of those monks? Although they had never seen monks before, with the inherited memories in their blood, how could they not recognize them? No one knows. That group of monks has a 5th-order puppet in their hands. It is very powerful, and the spirit ship's defense is also very strong. It is impossible to catch them alive. What's the point of discussing this now? Let's think about how to get rid of this group of monks. The best way is to gather all the tribes and besiege the monks' residence together. We can't be like before. Their strength has increased a lot now. A group of big monsters discussed how to get rid of the monks, but some big monsters also wanted to cooperate with the monks. Chapter 808 Deliberate. Did they say that there are 3 powerful monsters among the monks? Then can we cooperate with them? At least get out of this damn secret realm first. As soon as this was said, the monsters immediately objected fiercely. What are you talking about? Are you going to be a slave or running dog of the monks? A big monster roared and questioned angrily. How? Everyone knows that this is a secret realm. There is no such thing as ascension. If you want to leave, you can only go through the secret realm portal. But do you know where it is? Maybe the monsters at the beginning thought that this was a small world, but after so many years, it is unknown how many generations have been passed down. How could they not know the real situation? If we miss this opportunity, how many years will the next one be? 300 years? 500 years? Or 1,000 years? The big monster who proposed cooperation was not affected, and said lightly, "Are you really willing to die in the secret realm? We don't need to cooperate with the monks at all. We just need to capture some people alive and force them to tell us about the portal. If you want to leave, it is not the only way to cooperate," as it said. Before, they had no choice but to wait for death, but now they saw hope, so naturally no one wanted to be trapped in the secret realm. Moreover, the main reason they wanted to kill the monks was not revenge, but they were worried that they would also end up dead, so they just wanted to protect themselves. However, after hearing what it said, the anger in the hearts of the big monsters was greatly reduced. Compared with revenge on the so-called fellow tribesmen, the hope of survival was more important. Besides, if you want to cooperate, the monks may not agree. They just want to kill us all and then monopolize the secret realm. In an instant, the topic discussed by the big monsters was no longer how to kill the monks, but how to leave the secret realm. After discussing it, they finally decided to summon all the monsters and break through the monks' residence, but the main purpose was no longer to kill all the monks, but to capture them alive as much as possible, and then ask them about the exit of the secret realm. Since you have an idea, let's take action. The big monsters did not stay any longer, and returned to their own territories, summoning their tribes and rushing to the gathering place. How come we haven't found any demon beasts after searching for several days, and only found some insignificant demon beasts? Li Chengru found a strange situation, and for some reason, he suddenly felt uneasy. Are the demon beasts scared? So they migrated and fled far away, Zhao King answered without thinking too much. Li Chengru frowned, pondered for a moment, and said, Uncle Kingpen, let's go back to the base and advance. I always feel that something big is going to happen next. Zhao King looked up at him in surprise when he heard that. Seeing that Li Chengru was not joking, his face became serious and he nodded without hesitation. Okay. Go back now. Not long after, Li Chengru and his group returned to the base. Why did you come back? Did you encounter an ambush by demon beasts? Zia Kang asked with concern. Xiao Qing shook his head. Cheng Ruo was on a whim. What big thing will happen? Plus there haven't been many monsters found in the past few days, so he just came back. Xiao Kang didn't dare to ignore the spiritual perception of a nascent soul cultivator, and immediately called Xiao Yu, Li Xiangxin and Li Minggai out to discuss it carefully. The most likely thing is that the monsters have gathered a large army and are ready to get rid of us. This sentence was recognized by others, so everyone discussed their response measures based on this. First of all, it is necessary to obtain a large amount of resources from Wangxin Island to ensure that there are enough resources so that they can fight for a long time. Secondly, the family must send more clansmen to help, even if they are just foundation-building cultivators. Standing in the formation can relieve them of some pressure. After all, the last time the monster army was nearly 10,000, and this time it will be even more. Finally, if they fail to resist, how can they leave the secret realm as soon as possible? Anyway, the secret realm is already under control. As long as they save their own lives, if they fail this time, there will be next time, but if they lose their lives, they will really lose them. The news from the secret realm back to Wangxin Island instantly broke the elders' arguments. The clansmen in the secret realm had already decided to fight on. What else could they say? All they could do was to support them with all their strength so that they would not fail due to lack of resources. For a time, the entire clan started to operate at a faster speed, and various resources were produced quickly and then sent to the secret realm. What has the Li family been doing during this period? Why has the number of spiritual objects sold decreased so much? Some perceptive casual cultivators noticed something was wrong, and then everyone began to discuss it. I saw the Cloud Whale spirit ship leaving Wangxin Island several times in Redwood Market and heading to the open sea. Could it be that the Li family is competing with the Sea Clan for some spiritual object? How is it possible? The strength of the Sea Clan is simply unpredictable. How could the Li family dare to fight with the Sea Clan in the open sea? Isn't this just suicide? The casual cultivators' discussion spread the news at the fastest speed, and then it fell into the ears of some cultivators who had always wanted to rebel against the Li family, and then they gathered together tacitly. Is this rumor true or false? Really? A few days ago I received information that the Cloud Whale spirit ship was frequently going out. The eyes of the others suddenly lit up. If this is the case, then the strength of Wangxin Island must be very empty, right? After all, the strength of the Sea Clan is so strong that even if the Li family goes out in full force, they will not be the opponent. But they never thought that if the Cloud Whale spirit ship is really going out, the fight with the Sea Clan cannot be fake. This is the best time for us to overthrow the Li family. That's right. If we miss this opportunity, we don't know if we will have it again in the future. These unwilling forces soon united and went back to prepare to gather disciples and clansmen to go to Wangxin Island to overthrow the Li family. Which forces are restless and ready to move? Wangxin Island, the family hall. While dealing with family affairs, Li Mingzi asked the black-clothed monk in front of him. The Liu family of Yudang Mountain, the Wang family of King Shan's Hao, the Shuling sect, the Sanding sect. The black-clothed monk said the names of more than a dozen vassal forces in a row. How? I didn't expect there are still so many forces that are not convinced. A gleam of sternness flashed in Li Mingzi's eyes, and he said coldly, it's just right, take this opportunity to get rid of them, and Wang Xian's Hao will have less trouble in the future. The news that was spreading wildly among the scattered cultivators was actually spread by Li Mingzi on purpose, with the purpose of attracting those forces with bad intentions. I didn't expect the effect to be so significant, nor did I expect there would be so many. As for how to control those territories after getting rid of them, this is no longer a problem that the Li family needs to consider now. The Li family is no longer the family with only 1 or 2,000 clansmen and a few golden elixirs. It can already send a large number of cultivators to garrison and develop. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 809 Death. But if we really want to draw them to take action, there is one more thing to do. With that, Li Mingzi stood up and walked towards the purification spirit realm. What's the matter? Li Zhirui, who was interrupted, frowned, but still let Li Mingzi in. Please leave Wangxin Island in front of all the cultivators, Ruzu. After bowing, Li Mingzi directly stated his purpose. Li Zhirui was stunned for a moment, but immediately reacted and asked thoughtfully, "What are you planning to do? It has been reported that a large number of cultivators in the family have left Wangxin Island. Some forces with ill intentions want to take this opportunity to subvert the family." Li Zhirui instantly understood Li Mingzi's plan and looked at her deeply. This matter is definitely not as simple as she said, but he was too lazy to delve into it, and only asked, "Why do you think they will definitely take action, even if Wangxin Island is breached?" According to this statement, there are still a large number of Li family members outside, and he, the god of transformation, is still there. When they come back and find out about the situation of the family, these forces will all be doomed. Because they had planned to leave Wangxianzhou before, and had already thought of a way out, so they naturally became unbridled, Li Mingzi replied respectfully. In fact, a large part of the reason why they wanted to leave was that Li Mingzi did it on purpose. After knowing that they were dissatisfied, she deliberately targeted those forces. Originally, she planned to force them to resist, and then the Li family would deal with them in the name of justice, but she did not expect that the fourth-level secret realm would suddenly be discovered, and Li Mingzi's plan also changed accordingly. Judging from the means of this matter, Li Mingzi's temperament is completely different from the previous two clan leaders. She is more ruthless and unscrupulous, but it is only for the benefit of the family. No one in the Li family can blame her. Okay, I know, the plan is almost completed, and Li Zhirui will naturally not destroy it. After Li Mingzi received a positive answer, he bowed and left. The next day, Li Zhirui turned into a rainbow light and soared into the sky. He did not do it too deliberately, but he was just a little restrained. If you observe carefully, you can still find it. It seems that the battle between the Li family and the Xi clan is very fierce, and even the gods have left. The people who were interested received the news quickly and took action immediately. Late that night, tens of thousands of cultivators surrounded Wangxin Island layer by layer. Ding ding ding, the warning bells on the island rang continuously, and all the clansmen were instantly awakened from their practice and sleep, and some of them went out to check the situation in a panic. Because they were worried that someone would leak the news, even though they had cleaned up the traitors before, after so many years, there must be another batch. So Li Mingzi did not tell her plan to any other clan leader except the elders of the Anbu. There is an enemy invasion. Everyone, be prepared for battle. Immediately activate the island protection formation. Li Mingzi was quite excited, because they were really calculated. As long as they seized the opportunity, they could completely solve some hidden dangers, but they did not reveal a single bit on their face and gave orders calmly. Li Mingzi's voice gradually calmed down the panicked clansmen, and they began to launch a counterattack in an orderly manner. The cultivators from the outside world have organized 2 rounds of massive attacks. Various spiritual lights gathered together, illuminating the dark night as bright as day. The 4th-level defense formation of the Li family was in turmoil, and it took a long time to calm down. Obviously, in front of tens of thousands of cultivators, the 4th-level defense formation could not last long, not to mention that there were many Yuanying cultivators among them. Li Mingzi flew into the air, looking at the cultivators and independent cultivators who were trying their best to attack, and asked coldly, "Aren't you afraid that the ancestor will come back?" She misjudged the number and strength of the cultivators. She originally thought that there were only 10,000 or 20,000 cultivators, but now it seems that there are probably nearly 30,000. Among them, some are vassal forces that Li Mingzi has not inquired about, and some are independent cultivators. The number of independent cultivators is not large, but their cultivation is at least gigantic, and there are several Yuanying. But even so, Li Mingzi still has no fear, because Li Zhirui is now on the island. Afraid? Why not? That's the divine transformation. But I don't think he will come back so soon, right? As long as we get rid of you as soon as possible, even if he comes back, it won't help. One of the nascent soul cultivators laughed and said, but up to now, no nascent soul has taken action. No one can stop us. In a moment, you will all die. I thought the family was kind enough, Unlike other lands that would oppress casual cultivators and vassal cultivators, but I didn't expect that it would nourish your ambitions. Li Mingzi's cold voice reached the ears of every cultivator. How? Stop pretending here. If it weren't for the oppression of the Li family, how could we stand up and resist? Li Mingzi shook his head and said, since you are stubborn and want to die, it's not our fault. Long. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded between heaven and earth, and in the originally empty sea below, spiritual vines rose up into the sky, and hundreds of thousands of spiritual vines surrounded all the cultivators. A huge cage was formed in the blink of an eye, and the monks were immediately plunged into endless panic. Transformation. Li Zhirui is still in Banyan Island. Impossible. How is it possible? We clearly saw him leave with our own eyes. It's over. It's all over. I don't want to die. I still have hundreds of years to live. Please let me go. I am willing to be an ox or a horse, just begging for my life. All kinds of human conditions were played out among these tens of thousands of monks. Li Mingzi looked at them with disdain. She really didn't expect that this group of people would be so stupid. Such a plan with so many mistakes and loopholes would actually fool so many monks. Do it. Li Zhirui's voice reached the ears of all the tribesmen. He didn't dare to kill all of these monks, so he let the tribesmen share the karma. The crowd did not hesitate at all. They had been suppressed before, and a lot of anger had accumulated in their hearts. Now was the time to vent. Some of the tens of thousands of monks wanted to resist, but Li Zhirui could always make precise moves and interrupt their spells. The fate of these monks was the most miserable. Their spells backfired, and they were hit by the concentrated firepower of the Li family monks, and they were instantly turned into blood and flesh and exploded. Everyone, follow me and fight together. Since the Li family won't let us live, then we will drag them to death together. A roar rang out among the monks. Several monks on the verge of death immediately mobilized their magic power, and their bodies swelled up like balloons. Bang, bang, bang. The monks blew themselves up one after another, trying to fight for a glimmer of life. Interestingly, the monk who first proposed self-destruction did not self-destruct. Li Zhirui had already made preparations. One by one, the fourth-level golden vines were hidden among the many spiritual vines, and their self-destruction did not cause much damage to the vine cage. Chapter 810 Escape. It took the Li family more than an hour to kill them all with tens of thousands of cultivators. A thick layer of flesh and blood was piled up under the rattan cage, and the strong smell of blood made people dizzy. Even though Li Zhirui and others kept casting spells to blow away the smell, it just wouldn't go away. Even using spiritual fire to burn all the flesh and blood into ashes didn't solve it. In the end, Li Zhirui couldn't stand it anymore, so he mobilized the law of purification and turned into white lotuses, which grew out of the filthy and turbid flesh and blood, and only then did he dispel the annoying and disgusting smell. Li Zhirui originally thought that the white lotuses would gradually dissipate, but he unexpectedly discovered that they were actually absorbing flesh and blood, and it seemed like they were nurturing something. Is it because they absorbed a lot of flesh and blood essence, and some kind of mutation occurred? Li Zhirui thought in his heart, but he didn't know what was going on. Mingzi, you lead the tribesmen to count the harvest of those cultivators, and then take out a part to give to everyone, and finally send people to take over their territory. Everyone worked so hard, if they were not compensated, they would inevitably have opinions. Yes, Li Mingzi responded. Li Zhirui did not leave in a hurry, but stood in the air quietly waiting for the changes in the White Lotus. The tribesmen were busy. As time went by, the flesh and blood became less and less, and Li Zhirui found that the White Lotus that was originally thriving slowed down. Is it because there is not enough flesh and blood? Looking at these hundreds of white lotuses, Li Zhirui took out half of the white lotus essence and merged it into the white lotus next to it, but even so, there were still many malnutrition problems, and he could only repeat it. After several rounds, only 3 white lotuses were left. Fortunately, the lotus pods they bred were fully mature, otherwise the number would have to be reduced. Li Zhirui reached out and picked the lotus pods. The number of lotus seeds bred in each lotus pod was the same, only 5. He took out the lotus seeds and used his Dharma eye to examine them. He found that in addition to the power of purification, there was another kind of energy. After a careful understanding, it was a surging vitality. After understanding the situation, Li Zhirui suddenly came up with several uses in his mind. He could refine elixirs for monks to heal wounds and cleanse impurities in the body. He could also refine elixirs for spirit beasts to purify and promote blood. It's a pity that it's only a 3rd-grade elixir, Li Zhirui felt a little regretful. If the grade was higher, it might help his cultivation. He shook his head and prepared to leave a few spirit seeds for himself to plant in the spirit realm tied to the scenery. The rest would be handed over to the family, allowing them to spend time cultivating them. After they matured, he could also let the alchemists trained by the family try to deduce the 2 elixirs that Li Zhirui thought of. The news of the ruin and relocation of more than a dozen forces could not be concealed from other monks at all, and was discovered the next morning. For a while, Wang Xiantao was full of discussions. Although no one said it out loud, they all understood which family had started the fight. They became more respectful and fearful of the Li family. The remaining vassal forces became extremely honest and dared not make any small moves. From now on, the entire Wang Xiantao will only have the voice of the Li family, and in the secret realm, a fierce battle is about to break out. Why are there so many monsters? Are all the monsters in the entire secret realm coming? Zhao King saw the dark monsters outside from a distance, and her heart was heavy. Zhao King and others heard the sound and looked from a distance, and their faces instantly became extremely heavy. Are the monsters planning to launch a decisive battle and kill them all? Or should we leave first? Li Chengru proposed a very cautious plan. Zhao King and others were very entangled. If they could solve all these monsters, they would not have to run around and slowly hunt monsters, but directly develop the secret realm. But the number of monsters is too large, and with just their limited manpower, they are no match for the monsters. How about I open the exit first, and let all the tribesmen be ready to leave at any time, and try to fight? Zhao Kang pondered and said, it's not about whether we can win, but at least we can weaken the strength of the demon tribe. When we come in next time, the pressure we have to face will be less. I think we can try it. Li Chengru saw that everyone else was eager to try, so he stopped insisting and reminded them again and again, once the situation is unfavorable, you must take the tribesmen out of the secret realm. After integrating into the boundary stone, the secret realm has always been here. You can come in at any time, but the tribesmen have only one life. Not to mention the hundreds of tribesmen in the secret realm, they are all the elites of the family. If they lose too much, it will not be a small weakening of the family's strength. All tribesmen are ready to fight, and they must also be prepared to leave the secret realm. Zhao King shouted loudly, and the bright voice reached every tribe member. At first, the tribesmen didn't quite understand, but as countless monster armies appeared in their sight, they immediately knew what was going on. When the monsters entered the battle range, thousands of talismans that had been ready for use were instantly blasted towards them. The reason why the Li family did not use talismans for several rounds in the previous battle was that most of them were brought to the secret realm, and there was no way to organize them on a large scale. The effect of the spell torrent was very significant, and it instantly killed hundreds of monsters, but this number was just a drop in the bucket for the monsters all over the mountains and plains, and monsters immediately replenished them. Boom boom boom, the sound of explosions continued, and the smoke and dust in the sky were dyed red by a large amount of blood and flesh. 2 spiritual lights shot up into the sky. They were the only 2 5th-level puppets of the Li family. The monsters were vulnerable in front of them, and a random attack could kill dozens or hundreds of monsters. However, the large number of monsters killed not only did not make the other monsters retreat, but further stimulated their ferocity, and the offensive became more and more terrifying. No. I can't hold on any longer. However, in just a quarter of an hour, not only were all the talismans in their hands used up, but most of the mana in their bodies had also been consumed. Even some of the weaker tribesmen began to swallow the soul-returning pill. The number of monsters was too large. Even with 2 5th-order puppets that could be activated for a long time, they were at a disadvantage. The most important thing was that the 4th-order defensive formation that protected them was about to be broken. Without this layer of protection, they would face the dangerous monsters directly. If they didn't retreat, there would be a large number of casualties the moment the formation was broken. Let's go. Although Zhao King and the others were unwilling to do so, in front of the overwhelming army of monsters, if they didn't want to die, they had to leave the secret realm. The weaker tribesmen left first, and they, the nascent souls, stayed behind to buy more time for everyone. Chapter 811 Failure. Not good. They are trying to escape. Outside the crumbling formation, the big monsters saw the Li family monks walking into the portal leading to the outside world one by one, and they were very anxious. Quick! Go all out and make sure to catch them, a big monster shouted urgently, and was the first to transform back to his true form and pounce towards the formation. Humph! Seeing this, Zhao King snorted coldly, controlled the 5th level puppet to flash in front of it, and knocked it out with a bang. The huge body fell to the ground and killed countless low-level monsters. Hurry up. Abandon what should be abandoned. Nothing is more important than life. Although the Li family members were already moving very quickly, Li Chengru couldn't help but urge them to hurry up. Xiao Kang, focus on those 4th level big monsters. Don't give them a chance to attack, Zhao King reminded. Doing so would allow the formation to last a little longer to the greatest extent. In the last quarter of an hour, Zhao King and others were completely desperate to resist the attacks of the monsters, and various spells were continuously issued. Crack! The 4th level formation was broken by the monster. Fortunately, at this time, all the tribesmen had withdrawn from the secret realm, leaving only Zhao King and other Yuanying still resisting. Let's go! Zhao King took back the 5th level puppet, regardless of whether her own meridians could withstand it, and directly released all the spells in the treasure pill, setting off a hurricane to temporarily block the monster for a moment. Xiao Kang lifted up the exhausted Zhao King, and Li Chengru and others did not hesitate at all, turning into spiritual light and flying towards the exit. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. The moment they left the secret realm, Xiao Kang controlled the boundary-setting magic weapon to close the exit. Roar! When the storm dissipated, the big monsters looked at the messy but empty camp and roared. They paid such a great price, but in the end, the monks escaped. How could they not be angry? The boundless sea was calm. If it weren't for the presence of a large number of monks, this place would be no different from other places. Zhao King fell into coma, and Xiao Kang was also exhausted from controlling the puppets, and was resting with his eyes closed. Li Chengru had to step forward to preside over the situation and said, "Hurry back." Many tribesmen were in a state of exhausted mana and spiritual deficit, and needed a large number of healing elixirs. Moreover, the outside world was not safe. If they encountered a large number of water monsters, they would not be able to fight against them in their current state. Several spirit ships quickly returned to Banyan Island, and all the tribesmen were alarmed at the first time. Li Mingzi quickly came out, looking at the miserable appearance of the crowd, especially the Yuanying, and frowned, and asked, "Ancestor, are everyone's injuries serious?" As for the situation in the secret realm, it can be seen without asking. No tribesman died, but many tribesmen consumed too much energy, and their meridians and souls may be damaged. They need a large number of healing elixirs and time to repair, Li Chengru replied weakly. This operation to develop the secret realm was a complete failure. Everyone returned with injuries, but they did not gain much. Li Mingzi wanted to ask what happened. But seeing Li Chengru's condition, he couldn't say anything. He said quickly, "Then, Ancestor, go back and rest. We can talk about it later. Quick. Go to the warehouse and get all the healing elixirs and distribute them to all the tribesmen. If there are not enough, let the alchemists refine a batch as soon as possible to ensure that all the tribesmen will not have hidden dangers," Li Mingzi ordered the elders on the side. Okay, several people quickly agreed, brought the elixirs as quickly as possible, and distributed the elixirs with the deacons. "Ancestor, elixirs," Li Chengru shook his head and said, "My injuries are not serious, so I don't need them. Let's give them to other tribesmen." "Don't worry, Ancestor, there are still many elixirs." Li Mingzi stuffed them into his hand, and without giving Li Chengru a chance to refuse, he quickly walked towards the next tribesman. "Alice," Li Chengru sighed and left with a heavy body. Those tribesmen who could still move on their own slowly returned to the cave after receiving the elixir, while those like Zhao King and Xiao Kang who could no longer move could only ask others to help them heal their wounds. The startled Li Zhirui personally came forward and took out a few top-grade precious elixirs and gave them to Li Mingzi, saying, "Dissolve the precious elixirs into the spiritual water and give 3 drops of spiritual liquid to the seriously injured giant and tribesmen." As for the foundation-building cultivators, they could not bear such a huge medicinal effect and could only use other elixirs. Then Li Zhirui took Zhao King and Xiao Kang away and healed them personally. Xiao Kang, who was less seriously injured, woke up not long after. Li Zhirui shook his head at him and told him not to talk and to heal his wounds first. Zhao King, who was in a coma, did not wake up until the next day. Ahem, the first thing Zhao King said when she woke up was to ask about the safety of everyone. "Is everyone okay?" "No one died. Everyone is fine. No one died. Don't worry," Li Zhirui comforted. But how could such words deceive Zhao King? She said dejectedly, "If I hadn't insisted on my own way and taken my people away when I found out that the monsters were attacking in large numbers, we wouldn't have ended up like this." Xiaokang smiled bitterly and said, "It was my idea to let everyone stay. It's none of your business." Li Zhirui saw that the two were going to argue, frowned, and said, "Okay, your injuries haven't healed yet. What are you arguing about? All of you should take good care of your injuries." Seeing that they were honest, Li Zhirui got up and left. Li Chengru, who had recovered, wanted to tell everyone what happened in the secret realm in the family hall. He wanted to listen to what was going on. The secret realm is very large and the spiritual energy is rich, so the monsters are very powerful and divided into many tribes, Li Chengru said slowly. In the last battle, all the monsters in the secret realm should have been gathered together, so we were so embarrassed, everyone was silent. They all underestimated the strength of the monsters in the secret realm. How strong do you think the family needs to send out to clear out the monsters? Li Zhirui spoke up, breaking the silence in the hall. Li Chengru pondered for a moment and said cautiously, "At least 10 nascent souls, hundreds of golden cores, 1 or 200 people from the Foundation Establishment clan as logistics. And the 2 5th-level puppets are indispensable. In addition, the formation of the garrison should preferably be a mountain protection formation, not an ordinary defense formation. As for various elixirs, talismans and other resources," Li Chengru did not say, because he could not estimate it, but it must be a large number. "But even so, I am not sure that I can definitely solve the monsters." This, Li Mingzi and the elders were dumbfounded. They did not expect to use such a powerful force, and the result was uncertain. Li Zhirui couldn't help but frown when he heard this. According to Li Chengru, if the Li family wants to take over this 4th-level secret realm, it may have to pay a big price. Chapter 812 Remake. In that case, we can only give up temporarily, Li Zhirui sighed. With the current strength of the family, it is impossible to deal with the monsters in the secret realm. Anyway, the secret realm has been controlled, so there is no need to rush, Li Mingzi spoke to ease the heavy atmosphere in the hall. This failure is actually a good thing. Li Zhirui's words made everyone look at each other, not understanding what he meant. The Li family spent so many resources but didn't get anything in return. It was actually a good thing? The family has developed smoothly over the years without encountering any setbacks or hardships. The mentality of the younger generation of clansmen has changed a lot, Li Zhirui said in a calm voice. They have become arrogant and like to use their power to suppress others. They are no longer as concerned about cultivation as before. This failure just makes them realize that the strength of the family is nothing at all, and perhaps it can make some of the clansmen wake up, like other forces, which one has not grown and expanded step by step through hardships and dangers. But the Li family is different. With the existence of Li Zhirui, the development is very smooth. Even if there is danger, it is not a matter of life and death. Moreover, so many years have passed, and it is almost a history. Most of the clansmen have long forgotten it. What Ruzu taught is that the family has now shown such a trend. Li Mingzi felt a little ashamed. As the head of the clan, these things are within her authority and responsibility. Don't blame you. It's not too late to solve it now. Think about how to make the clan members nervous. If this continues, when will the Li family really rise? Before the voice fell, Li Zhirui left the hall. He now understood why there is always a hostile force near some forces. This is to make people feel a sense of urgency and unable to slack off, because if the strength is not enough, they are likely to die in a corner. But the current situation of the Li family is not suitable for this method, because there is no force of equal strength nearby, either a much weaker vassal, or a much stronger 2 major chambers of commerce and the Sea clan. The former cannot bring pressure to the Li family, the latter is not something the Li family can offend or provoke. If Xuanbing sect had not moved, it could have barely been a rival to the Li family. Unfortunately, they ran away. Speaking of which, the reason why Xuanbing sect took action was not only because of their unwillingness, but also because of the Li family's past. In the eyes of outsiders, the Li family has a great desire to expand its territory. Every time its strength grows, it will attack the nearby territory and bring it under its own name. Xuanbing sect was worried that the Li family would take action against them, and then, driven by unwillingness, took advantage of Li Zhirui's absence from Banyan Island to take action against the Li family. If it weren't for the 5th-level puppet, Banyan Island really couldn't stop them. But in fact, most of the Li family's expansions were because the other party took the initiative, and the Li family just fought back. Unfortunately, Xuanbing's sect did not study the reasons behind it in depth, otherwise it might not have ended up so tragically. There were many people and many mouths, and the news that a large number of Li family cultivators were injured soon spread in Wangxiantao. But no cultivator had other thoughts, and they were all very honest. After all, more than a dozen forces were destroyed not long ago, and Lingshan belonged to the Li family. In this situation, which cultivator would dare to show up? They could only discuss privately and speculate on the reasons for the Li family's injuries. Inside the Li family, Li Mingzi summoned a group of elders to discuss the issues raised by Li Zhirui and discuss solutions. It has been several days. Do you elders have any ideas? Li Mingzi asked. No one answered for a while. I think we can try to hold a magic battle competition, an elder said uncertainly. The family has always held competitions, but I don't see any effect. This is why the elder hesitated. Law enforcement elder, you should have other opinions, right? Why don't you say it out and discuss it together? Li Mingzi encouraged. The law enforcement elder could only answer, the family competition has long been a formality. The number of clan members participating is decreasing every year, and no one pays much attention to it, so naturally there will be no effect. But if we re-establish the rules and require all clan members to participate, and give next year's training resources according to the ranking, I believe that most clan members will be tempted. In this way, if you want to win other clan members, you must practice hard and improve your strength. Li Mingzi's eyes suddenly lit up. This idea is indeed good, but soon she thought of a disadvantage and said, but if the clan members only pursue combat power and practice magic without practicing seriously in order to win, what should we do? After all, if there is a small realm difference, there will not be much difference in strength, especially in the key training realm. There is no difference between the 5th and 6th levels of key training. If this really happens, it may lead to very serious consequences. Clan leader, if it is really as you said, then this person's vision is just like this. He can get a good ranking this year. What about the second year? The law enforcement elder expressed his opinion. Li Mingzi was silent for a moment, then nodded and said, you make sense. Do other elders have other opinions or suggestions? Let's brainstorm and complete this as soon as possible. She thought this was a good idea, but this kind of major event related to the development of the family was not something that Li Mingzi could decide alone, because there would definitely be things she didn't notice. According to what you said, if we give the cultivation resources for the next year based on the ranking, then the clan members with slightly weaker combat power, such as alchemists and weapon refiners, will be ranked lower, an elder said, and if they spend time to enhance their combat power, then they will definitely have less time to practice and improve their skills. For them, isn't this a bit of a loss? If there are clan members who are ambitious in skills, they can participate in related competitions instead of fighting competitions. The Li family has been holding various competitions for many years, but as time goes by, no one pays attention to them anymore. Next, other elders also raised their own questions. Some of the law enforcement elders could answer them, while others asked everyone to work together to find a solution. After a day and a night of discussion, they finally came up with a relatively complete new rule. Thank you for your hard work. Li Mingzi's voice revealed a trace of fatigue, and said, if there are no other problems, I will sort it out and publish it. No one wanted to talk anymore, and they really couldn't think of any other problems. Okay, then let's decide on it. If you find any problems in the future, we can find ways to modify it. Chapter 813 Sedimentation. After the reenacted family competition regulations were announced, they immediately caused an uproar among the clan members. The competition, which was originally not seriously injured, was closely related to the personal resources of the second year. The better the results, the more resources you get. The highest first place can get 3 times as much. With such abundant resources, you will definitely be able to distance yourself from your peers and break through faster. For a time, all the clan members were full of motivation and wanted to achieve good results in the year-end competition. The originally prosperous Banyan Island also became a bit depressed. After Li Zhirui knew about Li Mingzi's plan, he no longer paid attention to it and resumed his previous life of practicing and refining pills. The whole Li family calmed down, silently accumulating and precipitating strength, waiting for the day of transformation. As time passed, snowflakes soon fell from the sky. Winter was coming, which also indicated that the first family competition after the reform of the Li family was coming. After more than half a year of recuperation, the injuries of those clan members who came out of the secret realm at the beginning had healed. However, because they spent most of their time on healing, the results of this competition may not be very ideal. Ding, ding, ding. A heavy bell sounded over the Wongsan Island, and all the clansmen rushed to Daofa Mountain. Daofa Mountain is a high mountain dedicated to the clansmen to fight and hold family competitions. There are hundreds of arenas built on it. Unfortunately, the family competitions in the past were not taken seriously, and the clansmen rarely fought privately. Therefore, Daofa Mountain is very desolate and overgrown with weeds. It was only recently cleared. Brother, are you confident in this family competition? No, the man shook his head and smiled bitterly, saying, the family has developed rapidly in recent years. I don't know how many clansmen have hidden their strength. What is my strength, brother? You are too modest. With your perfect foundation building cultivation, you will definitely win the first place in the foundation building competition. The brother shook his head and said nothing. Although he was not allowed to use any spiritual objects above his realm, even talismans and elixirs, his magic weapon was only a second-level middle grade one. Moreover, he has been concentrating on cultivation these years and rarely exercises his own combat power. If he really fights, he may not be the opponent of others. As time goes by, more and more tribesmen come to Daofa Mountain, and the huge mountain is full of tribesmen. After all, it is for their own resources for next year, and no one wants to give up. Except for those tribesmen who are in seclusion to break through, stationed outside and unable to leave, and those who go out for training, almost all tribesmen come. For the tribesmen who cannot participate in the competition, if it is due to official business, the family will give compensation, but if it is for other reasons, naturally there will be no compensation. During the waiting period, everyone chatted with the tribesmen they were familiar with. Although they lowered their voices, the whole mountain was still very noisy due to the large number of people. After a while, Li Mingzi and a group of elders came to Daofa Mountain. Quiet. With the help of the power of the formation, Li Mingzi's voice exploded in everyone's ears like thunder, and everyone shut up in an instant. Daofa Mountain, which was originally noisy, became silent. The rules for the first round of the family competition are that clansmen of the same realm will compete against each other. The winner will advance, and the loser will enter the waiting area. After the first round of competition, they will continue to draw lots for 2-on-2 duels. The loser will be eliminated directly. Of course, it is impossible for the number of clansmen in each realm to be exactly the right number. There will definitely be people who are matched with opponents of higher or lower realms than themselves. Li Mingzi's voice echoed in the air, ensuring that every clan member could hear it clearly. If there is no problem, then let's start. After that, Li Mingzi took out a bamboo stick magic weapon he had made, covered it with magic, and let everyone draw. Anyone who uses spiritual consciousness or magic to spy will be eliminated directly. Soon, everyone made preparations and followed the guidance of the magic weapon to get on the competition stage. There is nothing to say about the battle between key training monks. Both sides have little mana in their bodies. They can't cast a few spells before their mana is gone. It depends on the grasp of timing. As long as you seize the opportunity, you can solve the opponent. Of course, there are also some outstanding members among them, who are noticed by Li Mingzi and others. If they are determined to have no problems with their character and Dao heart through subsequent observation, they can be cultivated as seeds for cultivation. The battles of the foundation building cultivators are quite interesting. They can cast various spells, which can be called fighting, rather than a dry battle. As time goes by, winners and losers are born one by one, and the competition platform is gradually emptied. Because the destructive power of the Jindan cultivators is relatively large and there are fewer people, they do not compete with others. They need a specially made competition platform, and they can be ranked after 2 rounds. I didn't expect that there are so many members of the family who have completed the foundation. If they can all break through, the strength of the family will surely skyrocket. An elder sighed. I didn't know it before because I didn't have a detailed statistics. Now I find that there are more than 100 members of the family who have completed the foundation. If they all become Jindan, then the Li family will have 200 or 300 Jindan. But this idea was too good to be true. Even with Xian King Dan and Jinzi Dan, it was impossible to guarantee that every member of the tribe could successfully break through the Jindan stage. It was already a miracle that half of them could succeed, and they were also blessed by the 2 kinds of elixirs, otherwise the success rate would be even lower. The competition progressed very quickly, and the first round of competition was completed late at night. There were several thousand people participating. Let everyone go back and rest for a night, recuperate, and welcome the new competition tomorrow. Starting from the second round of competition, the giant cultivators also started the competition. The rules were exactly the same as the first round, without any changes. After all, there were still many tribesmen participating in the competition, and a group of cultivators had to be eliminated as soon as possible. The competition begins. As soon as Li Mingzi finished speaking, a pair of tribesmen started fighting. They were two foundation-building tribesmen. They wanted to make a quick decision, so they fought very fiercely. Every move did not look like a competition, but really wanted to kill each other. In a very short time, the winner was decided. If other tribesmen could follow their pace, the second round of competition would probably be over by the evening. The giant tribesmen stood on the special competition platform and launched attacks at will. They didn't have to worry about the platform going wrong. They only wanted to defeat their opponents. The tribesmen watching the competition were delighted. It would be great if they could have such a strong strength. In order to win, each giant used various means to defeat their opponents. After all, as giant cultivators, they needed more cultivation resources to speed up their cultivation, strive to cultivate to giant perfection as soon as possible, and have more time to impact Yuanying. Chapter 814 Seeking Tao. If there is no hope of breakthrough, I think no cultivator is willing to give up and not pursue a higher realm. You know, the level of realm is not only related to one's own strength, but also to long life. So in order to get more resources, the giant cultivators used all means within the scope allowed by the rules, just to win. Unfortunately, there are winners and losers in the competition, and in the end, more than 20 giants stopped here. Moreover, the power of giant cultivators is relatively large, so it is inevitable that injuries will be caused during the competition, which is a very common situation. The third round of competition will start tomorrow. Everyone have a good rest tonight, Li Mingzi comforted. Don't be discouraged for the tribesmen who failed. This is just a temporary result. Work hard in the next year. I believe you will all get good results next year. At the same time, Li Zhirui, who had just refined a purification yuandan, found Li Mingzi's sound transmission node and activated it. It turned out that he wanted to invite him to participate in the last round of the competition. Tomorrow, looking at the time, Li Zhirui agreed to attend. After all, he had just refined a yuandan, and he couldn't continue refining recently. It was just the right time to take a look at how many dazzling young people had emerged in the family in recent years. There was no conversation overnight. The competition on the second day came as scheduled. This is the last round of competition, a points battle. Everyone randomly draws an opponent with a similar realm. The winner gets 1 point, and the loser gets no points. But if you fail 3 times, you will lose the challenge qualification and the points will be locked. The rules are very simple. After a little preparation, the battle starts directly. I don't know if Ruzu will come, Li Mingzi said. If Ruzu can come and announce the ranking in person, it will definitely further inspire the mood of the clan members. Li Zhirui, who has many titles such as the only one in the Li family who has transformed into a god, the highest generation, has turned the tide many times, saved the family, and led the family to rise, is the supreme existence in the hearts of all the clan members. In fact, Li Zhirui has already arrived at the scene, but he is just hiding in the air and has not appeared. Hearing Li Mingzi's words, he was even more reluctant to appear. Li Zhirui was reluctant to appear in front of the clan members because he didn't want to be overly deified. This is not a good thing. Li Zhirui is also a selfish mortal. Once they find out that he is different from what they imagined, they will fall from the altar in an instant and be shattered in an instant. Shaking his head, he cleared these thoughts and looked down at the fighting competition between the younger generations. In Li Zhirui's eyes, they certainly still have many flaws, or immature places, but these are not big problems, and they can be improved by more fighting. While watching the battle, Li Zhirui also found several clansmen who performed well, some of whom he knew and some of whom he didn't know. When the family competition on Banyan Island was in full swing, in the distant capital of Ningguo, in a secluded courtyard, a woman with ordinary appearance but outstanding temperament was studying a chess book alone. Sitting in front of the chessboard, one person held the black and white chess pieces. And the 2 dragons were entangled in fighting in this small world. Knock knock, the sudden knock on the door interrupted the woman's thoughts. Her eyebrows frowned slightly, and she looked down at the chessboard again, and she no longer had the feeling before. Sister Zhang, please open the door for me, A clear and pleasant female voice sounded outside the door. Hong Mei, go open the door. Jinhun, bring some snacks and tea. The two maids waiting not far away moved at the sound. The moment the courtyard door opened, a red figure rushed in, the jewelry in her hair jingled, and soon came to the pavilion where Zhang Fengwu was playing chess. Miss, please slow down, the two maids who followed her hurried in. Sister Zhang, you are playing chess again. Zhang Fengwu had long been accustomed to this overly lively girl, and responded, I have nothing to do when I am free, so I can only play chess for fun. What fun can there be in playing chess? The girl muttered, grabbed the snacks that had just been served, and said incoherently, Sister Zhang, did you know that Master Fan Ziping is coming to the capital? Are you talking about the #1 chess master in ancient and modern times, Master Fan, who is known as the chess saint? Zhang Fengwu put down the chess book in his hand and asked with a sharp look in his eyes. She has not forgotten why she came to the mortal world after sealing her magic power and divine consciousness? Isn't it just to learn a mortal skill to a high level, so that she can unite the heaven and earth and enter the state of transformation? The reason why Zhang Fengwu chose the way of chess is that the way of chess and the way of formation have some similarities, which are easier to get started and are good for one's own practice. This Master Fan, who is praised by the world and has an extremely high evaluation, definitely meets this standard. Zhang Fengwu did not expect to be accepted as a disciple by Fan Ziping, but if she could learn a little skill, it might save her several years. Yes, it's him. I heard from my father that Master Fan will arrive in the capital in 3 days. After resting for a few days, he will communicate with a group of chess masters on Longfeng Street. The girl looked at Zhang Fengwu and said, with your skills, Sister Zhang, why not give it a try? The father of this person is a senior official in the capital. When Zhang Fengwu first arrived in the capital, he accidentally saved the girl and was grateful to her family. The courtyard where she now lives and the servants were all arranged by her family. It was also because of their protection that Zhang Fengwu, a weak woman, could live a stable life in the capital. I really have to try. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Zhang Fengwu smiled. Sister Zhang, I finally get to see you. Can you teach me the swordsmanship I used that day? The girl looked at Zhang Fengwu with her big eyes like a deer, full of pleading, which made people feel soft-hearted. Zhang Fengwu could not use spells and spiritual consciousness, but during the practice, the body tempered by the spiritual energy did not dissipate, so don't look at her as a delicate woman. In fact, even if she was surrounded by a 1,000-man army, she could leave calmly. Okay, Zhang Fengwu knew the girl's character. If he didn't agree, she would definitely keep pestering him. It would be better to agree directly. Zhang Fengwu stood up, picked up a dead branch from the ground, and began to dance. His sword skills were light and graceful, and the sword shadows were like weaving. He looked as soft as white jade, but the whistling sword energy around him made it impossible for people to get close. After performing a sword skill, Zhang Fengwu's breathing did not change at all. The coldness between his eyebrows and eyes also melted like spring snow, becoming indifferent and gentle. Pa pa pa, the girl clapped her hands with all her strength, her eyes full of admiration, and said, Sister Zhang, you are so amazing. Then she was dejected again, but this is too difficult. It's okay, I will teach you slowly, and one day you will be able to learn it. Zhang Fengwu comforted softly. Okay, the girl didn't know the taste of worry, and her mood fluctuated constantly. Chapter 815 Happy. On this day, the spring breeze was gentle and the sun was shining, warm but not scorching. The bustling and endless streets were filled with all kinds of stalls, with fragrant snacks, a dazzling array of accessories, etc., which made people overwhelmed. Sister Zhang, the market is so lively today, the girl Zhang Linglong said excitedly. Zhang Fengwu smiled lightly and said nothing. She hardly went out on weekdays, so she naturally didn't know the situation of the mortal market. Compared with the market she had been to, this place had a lot more fireworks, and it was more lively and warm. At the same time, she was also amazed at Fan Ziping's popularity. Holding a chess exchange meeting could cause such a big commotion. Linglong, let's go to the place where Master Fan held the chess meeting first. Zhang Fengwu was worried that they would go too late and might not even have a seat. Sister Zhang, don't worry, I asked my brother to help us save a seat a long time ago. Zhang Linglong rarely played in the market, so she naturally had to have a good time before leaving. Hearing this, Zhang Fengwu could only let her go. Sister Zhang, come quickly. The girl seemed to have discovered something surprising, and she shouted excitedly, there are lanterns here, Although it was still daytime, the beautiful lantern still attracted a lot of attention, especially the lantern on the top. The veil was hazy, the moon was rising, and a group of fairies were laughing and playing happily. Their expressions and movements were like real people, making people unable to take their eyes away. This was completely an exquisite work of art. I want that lantern. How much taels of silver? Zhang Linglong shouted impatiently. 50 taels, take out the lantern, but at the same time, another woman also asked to buy the lantern of the fairy under the moon. Yu Linglong. What do you mean? It was obviously me who saw it first, a noble lady with a similar background, appearance, and even name, but one was coquettish and innocent, and the other was charming and attractive, but the two had been disgusted with each other since childhood. Sister Zhang, what you said is unreasonable. If you like something, it will be yours, right? Zhang Linglong rarely won a verbal fight, so she had learned her lesson long ago. She did not argue with Yu Linglong and turned to the stall owner and said, the highest bidder wins. I'll pay 100 taels, 150 taels. The stall owner was naturally delighted, but he also knew that he could not afford to offend these two people. He smiled bitterly and apologized. Ladies, this lantern is not worth so much money. How about you two discuss it privately first, confirm which lady it is, and then buy the lantern at the original price. He was a small vendor, and all he could do was to protect himself. HMPH, Zhang Linglong rolled her eyes, and suddenly snorted, saying, I don't want it. Let's go. Yu Linglong's eyes showed surprise. She had always been competing with her, but why did she suddenly change her temper today? For a moment, she felt bored and no longer mentioned the purchase of lanterns. The vendor looked at the two noble ladies who left without looking back, and felt like crying but had no tears. He was furious. He should have known better to offend a family and get the silver first. This lantern costs 20 taels of silver. I wonder if the stall owner is willing to give it up. He hadn't caught up with Zhang Linglong before. When Zhang Fengwu came over, Yu Linglong suddenly appeared again. He thought of an idea and stood aside without going over. It was because Zhang Linglong saw Zhang Fengwu's look that she suddenly gave up and turned away. Thank you, Sister Zhang, for helping me buy the lantern. Not long after walking, the two met. It's okay. Zhang Fengwu didn't ask about their relationship and said, let's go to the chess club, okay? After getting the lantern, the girl felt that she was better than Yu Linglong. She was very satisfied and didn't want to go shopping anymore. Not long after, the two came to the chess field. There were already a lot of people here, and Yamen runners were specially sent to avoid chaos. Along the specially separated passage, the two quickly walked in. Monk? The moment Zhang Fengwu entered the venue, she noticed the presence of fellow practitioners, because they did not hide it at all. Even though she had sealed her magic power and soul, her eyesight was still there. Why are they running here for no reason? Zhang Fengwu glanced at them inconspicuously. She saw 5 cultivators standing diagonally opposite her. The one with the highest cultivation level among them was actually a Yuanying, and the other 4 seemed to be his juniors. All of them were Jinden. What are several great cultivators doing in the mortal world for no reason? Zhang Fengwu lowered his head and lowered his eyes. His eyes were full of thoughts, and he did not notice the anger in Yu Linglong's eyes when she looked at the lantern in the girl's hand and her. The girl held her head high and her chest was puffed out. Her spirits were high, and from time to time she raised the lantern to play with it, looking at Yu Linglong provocatively. Sister Zhang, Sister Zhang, Zhang Fengwu called several times before she came back to her senses. What are you thinking about? You are so absent-minded. Master Fan is about to come on stage? Think about how to go on stage and ask the master for advice later. Zhang Fengwu smiled gently. Thanks to the girl, Zhang Fengwu's name was also on the list of people who asked for advice, and he could play a game with Fan Ziping in person. You know, Fan Ziping is not young anymore, his energy is limited, and his fame is so great. I don't know how many people want to play against him, but there are only 3 or 5 places. Being able to be on the list of people to ask for advice among a large number of people shows how much effort Zhang Linglong's family has put in. Zhang Fengwu did save the girl's life, but her family's efforts during this period can completely offset her life-saving grace. Sister Zhang is so good at playing chess, she can definitely win, and play hundreds of rounds with Master Fan. Although the girl didn't know much about the world, she also knew the name of the chess saint, and quickly changed her words. Zhang Fengwu laughed dumbly and said, how can I be so powerful? Suddenly, there was a commotion in the crowd. An old man with white hair and youthful face, who was energetic, walked slowly into the venue with the support of 2 boys. "Master Fan," someone shouted, and the crowd suddenly let out a roar of overwhelming roar. Zhang Fengwu glanced at the 5 cultivators from time to time and found that they were also a little excited when they saw Master Fan. Especially the 4 giant cultivators, they couldn't help but want to go up. But were stopped by the Yuanying. Are they really here to find Master Fan? Zhang Fengwu's eyes flashed with doubt. Could it be that there are also fellows who try to break through with my method? Thinking of this, Zhang Fengwu was not surprised but happy, because if her guess was true, then she only needed to keep going along this road, and it would be very likely that she would achieve her goal of breaking through to the god transformation. As for whether Master Fan would be asked to leave by them, it had nothing to do with Zhang Fengwu. After all, her current identity, a woman of unknown origin, does not support her to consult Master Fan frequently. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 816 Favor. But soon, Zhang Fengwu gathered his thoughts, because the game started. The first to play was a famous chess master in Wangdu. Because he was still young, he was regarded as the successor of Master Fan. The game between the two was very exciting, but as the empty points on the chessboard became fewer and fewer, the young chess master took longer and longer to think, and a trace of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. Even people who played against him could see that the young man might not be able to hold on. "Sister Zhang, is that person going to lose?" Zhang Linglong asked in a low voice. Zhang Fengwu nodded and said, "That's right, within 5 moves, this person will definitely lose." Her eyes looked at Master Fan and became very solemn. As a bystander, Zhang Fengwu stood from the perspective of an outsider and watched the whole game. But at the beginning, Zhang Fengwu couldn't understand Master Fan's moves. Until then, he suddenly realized that the young chess master was about to lose. He hurriedly turned back and reviewed the game step by step. Only then did he find that Master Fan had been cautious step by step and had unknowingly eaten many pieces of the young man. "So powerful," the girl exclaimed, but she was concentrating on watching and couldn't understand what was going on. And the fact was not unexpected. The young man also saw his defeat, his mentality collapsed, and Master Fan ate all of it in just the second hand. After the defeat, Fan Ziping spoke a few words of advice. "Thank you for your advice, Master. I'm learning from you." Fortunately, the young man quickly regained his composure and stood up to greet. The second person was Zhang Fengwu. When she came on stage, there was a commotion in the crowd, because Zhang Fengwu is not only a woman, but also an unknown woman, and she was not qualified to ask Master Fan for advice. But the matter has been settled. No matter what the people have opinions, they can't stop it. The Yuanying cultivator in the crowd looked at Zhang Fengwu with a strange look in his eyes. It was strange that he actually sensed the breath of a fellow Taoist in a mortal woman. When he wanted to confirm it, the feeling disappeared again, as if it was his illusion. And the 4 disciples behind him didn't react at all, muttering, "I must have seen it wrong, please." Zhang Fengwu sat opposite Master Fan with a calm face. Because he was holding the black chess piece, he made the first move. Maybe it was because of the last game. Zhang Fengwu looked at every move of Master Fan and wondered why he made such a move, whether he was setting up a new plan. As a result, because she thought too much, she fell into a passive position. Even if she figured it out later and jumped out of it, it was a pity that the situation was over. With Zhang Fengwu's current ability, she couldn't turn the tables. She barely made more than a dozen moves and ended in a miserable defeat. "You are too craftsmanlike, inflexible, and defensive, so you have a preconceived idea. And seeing that you are pursuing something, you deliberately learned the way of chess, so you are born inferior. If you don't correct your mentality, you may be worthy of the name of a master, but that's all." Fan Ziping pointed out Zhang Fengwu's problem in a gentle voice. Zhang Fengwu's heart trembled, and he stood up to greet her, saying respectfully, "Thank you for your guidance, Master. I will never forget your kindness in teaching me. I don't deserve such a great gift." Zhang Fengwu shook his head, but it was not easy to say more at this time. He just bowed again and turned to leave. After returning to his seat, Zhang Fengwu closed his eyes and pretended to sleep, breaking his utilitarian heart of learning chess for the sake of learning chess, and learning again with a passionate and purposeless mind. With the world as the chessboard, the mountains, rivers, and the stars in the sky are all the laws. In a trance, Zhang Fengwu seemed to see the laws between heaven and earth, but it seemed that she didn't see them, just a flash. But she remembered that feeling, and had a clear direction to move forward, no longer like before, completely unable to see the way forward. When Zhang Fengwu opened her eyes, she saw Zhang Linglong looking at her with a worried look, and comforted her, "Sister Zhang, it's okay. How long have you been learning chess? It's amazing that you have the skills you have now." Obviously, the girl thought she couldn't bear the blow, and she closed her eyes and pretended to sleep just now, but she was actually trying not to cry. "I'm fine, I just digested the master's comments, which really benefited people a lot." Seeing the obvious disbelief on Zhang Linglong's face, Zhang Fengwu didn't explain too much. Soon, the people who asked Master Fan for advice were all defeated, and the old man was ready to get up and leave. At this moment, the monk suddenly stepped forward and blocked Master Fan's way. "I wonder what you are doing," Master Fan frowned and asked. One of the giant and cultivators raised his head and said proudly, "We are disciples of the Zi family in Qinghai Mountain of the central region Xiuxin world. We heard that you have reached the pinnacle in chess, so we specially invite you to Qinghai Mountain to play chess with our ancestor." Master Fan looked a little ugly. Of course, he wanted to get in touch with Xiuxin. Although he was old, he thought that the methods of the immortals should allow him to live a few more years. And he had so many descendants. Maybe they were destined to be with Xiuxin? In short, it was a great thing to have a good relationship with the cultivators. But the attitude of this man made Master Fan hesitate. He was so high and mighty that he would become a slave by then. This was not what he wanted. "What? Seeing that you look embarrassed, you don't want to go?" the man asked with an ugly face without waiting for Master Fan's answer. The crowd who originally wanted to watch and thought they could see the story in the storybook also realized that the atmosphere was not right. They did not dare to stay there and left in a hurry. Zhang Fengwu also pulled Zhang Linglong away and said, "I'm in a hurry to go back and write down those insights, so I won't go back with you. Be careful on the road." After that, he disappeared into the crowd before she could react. Zhang Fengwu, who had entered an empty alley, sighed faintly. She had originally planned to find an opportunity to send some elixirs to Master Fan to repay the kindness of the Dao, but she encountered this kind of thing and had to take action. A moment later, Zhang Fengwu, wearing a black robe, who could not be distinguished from men and women from the outside, went straight to the chess field. "Interesting, I didn't expect that a few great monks could threaten mortals." Zhang Fengwu's voice came in time, stopping them from preparing to forcibly take Master Fan away. Qinghai Mountain Zi's Hangwen, meet fellow Taoist. A hint of vigilance appeared in the eyes of the Yuanying, and he could feel that Zhang Fengwu's strength was stronger than his. A nameless person is not worth mentioning, he must be a strong person, so Zi's Hangwen could only ask in a gentle tone, "I wonder what you want to do." "Of course it's this old man," Zhang Fengwu said calmly. "Now that I have stopped at the perfection of the nascent soul, I plan to start with immortal skills. By chance, I heard that there is a chess saint in Ningbo, so I thought about learning from him for a few years. Fortunately, I didn't come too late, otherwise I would have missed it." Chapter 817. Zi's Hangwen's face changed. He had a premonition before that Zhang Fengwu, who suddenly appeared, might have the same idea as them. Dao, Ma Zi family has several ancestors who have reached the state of transformation. They could only hope to use the family's reputation to intimidate this mysterious nascent soul cultivator. "How?" Zhang Fengwu chuckled and said, "The Zi family is thousands of miles away from here. Do you think that with the strength of the five of you, you can resist me for a quarter of an hour?" Dao's strength is indeed above mine, but I think I can still hold out for just a quarter of an hour. Zi's Hangwen would naturally not back down. "Really?" Zhang Fengwu sneered contemptuously and summoned three spirit beasts, Feng Peng, Longli and King Nero. Each of them exuded the aura of a nascent soul cultivator. "Now, do you still think you can stop me?" Zi's Hangwen's face changed drastically. He was not Zhang Fengwu's opponent in the first place. Now with the addition of 3 4th-level spirit beasts, if they really wanted to fight to the death, a quarter of an hour would be enough to bury him here. Although Fan Ziping's role is very important and it is related to whether the family can have another transformation god as soon as possible, nothing can compare to his own life. He immediately bowed his head and remained silent, which was considered as surrendering to Zhang Fengwu. "You are quite sensible." Seeing Zi's Hangwen's attitude, Zhang Fengwu was relieved. She didn't want to fight with a Yuanying cultivator, especially when there was a transformation god family behind him. Then he pinched a white cloud and sent Fan Ziping and others up, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Zhang Fengwu landed in a wilderness and said, I wonder what Master Fan's plans are in the future. If it was before today, Zhang Fengwu would definitely take Master Fan away and learn from him, but she has now understood the world and does not attach as much importance to the way of chess as before, so naturally she will not spend too much time on it. So Fan Ziping is no longer that important to her, and the reason why she took action was just to repay the cause and effect of the favor of the Tao. I don't have many years left to live. I can just find a mountain village and live incognito. It's hard for my descendants. I don't know if they will be in danger. Zhang Fengwu frowned and said, in that case, I will send the master back to his hometown. You can arrange your descendants yourself. Sending the Buddha to the west is just a small matter. It only takes 1 or 2 hours. After resolving the cause and effect, Zhang Fengwu returned to the capital, sealed her magic power and consciousness again, and turned back into a mortal woman. Everyone on the street was talking about Fan Ziping being taken away by the immortal. Some people said that it was because Master Fan's skills reached the pinnacle and were valued by the monks, so they specially invited him. Others said that it was because Master Fan got some treasure. In short, there are all kinds of opinions. Zhang Fengwu asked about the actions of the 5 monks after she left. Hearing that they smashed the chess field in anger and did not hurt mortals, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. If they were to vent their anger on mortals because of her, Zhang Fengwu would feel bad, not to mention the cause and effect. Zhang Fengwu was at ease in the yard pondering the laws of heaven and earth, and no one came to disturb her. Zhang Linglong, who used to come to her from time to time, seemed to be confined by the Zhang family because of the cultivator. The laws of heaven and earth. Zhang Fengwu could now vaguely sense the existence of the laws. Although she couldn't break through it yet, it was an important first step and of great significance. Now, she was considering whether to stay in the capital or return to Banyan Island. I've been out for decades, and it's time to go back and take a look. In the end, Zhang Fengwu made the decision to return to the family for many reasons, but the most important one was safety. With Li Zhirui in charge, the scoundrels didn't dare to attack the Li family. Zhang Fengwu was always resolute and decisive. After making up her mind, she was ready to leave the next day. She didn't need to deal with the yard and servants, because they were all Zhang's assets. She just wrote a farewell letter and a sword manual and asked someone to give them to Zhang Linglong. When the girl saw the letter and rushed from home, Zhang Fengwu had already left Banyan Island. After several rounds of competition, this year's family competition is about to come to an end, and only the Jinden clan members have not yet decided on the ranking. What do you think? This year, will Li Minghong get the first place in Jinden, or Li Mingquan? These two people are the best of the new generation of Li family members. Now they are all geniuses who have perfected Jinden and are expected to break through the Yuanying stage. I think Li Minghong is more likely. He practices the sword art with the most lethality, and he has a very high talent in this aspect. Li Mingquan is even more powerful. His mastery of spells and magical powers can be said to be superb. With the 2 third-level spirit beasts that cooperate tacitly, Li Minghong can never be his opponent. At this point in the competition, everyone can actually see who the final winner is. The 2 people they are discussing are the most popular Jinden clan members in this competition. And it is not known whether it is really a coincidence or the family did it intentionally. So far, the 2 have not met on the competition stage, so that the clan members have their own opinions and endless arguments. Li Zhirui, who was hidden in the clouds, heard their discussion clearly, but he showed a strange smile on his face and said, if the family opens the market, I think I will make a lot of spiritual stones. Time passed bit by bit, and the Jinden clan members were eliminated one by one, until only 6 people were left. After another round of fighting, Li Minghong, Li Mingquan and another clan member named Li Mingqing entered the final competition. There are only 3 games in the last round of competition. The first place is the one who wins both games, the second place is the one who wins 1 game and loses 1 game, and the third place is the one who loses 2 games. Li Mingzi stood up and explained the rules. Then the 3 of them stepped forward and started drawing lots. Li Mingzi took back the bamboo sticks of the 3 people and announced, the first game, Li Minghong versus Li Mingqing. After hearing the sound, the 2 of them stepped onto the competition stage. After greeting each other, Li Minghong took the initiative, and a flash of cold light passed by. and went straight to Li Ming's vital point. Clang! Li Ming stretched out his hands and directly blocked the attack. The huge force pushed Li Minghong back several steps. Wow! The crowd watching below the stage exclaimed, unable to believe what they saw. How is it possible? This brother has such strength. Why have I never heard of his name before? Li Ming grinned and said, your sword is fast, but unfortunately not sharp enough. Humph! Come again. Li Minghong is also a proud person. How could he give up easily? Moreover, they are still in the trial stage, and neither side has shown their true ability. The magic power was injected into the spirit sword, and the cold light suddenly became dazzling, making it impossible to look directly at it, and even the nearby space had a slight fluctuation. Cut! The grinning Li Ming's face became serious, and his magic power suddenly became violent like thunder. His body was covered with lightning, and in an instant he turned into a 3-meter-tall thunder god. Chapter 818 Dark Horse. Qilei's spiritual body. Li Zhirui, who is well read, recognized this special spiritual body at the first time. This is a first-class spiritual body that can not only improve the strength of the physical body, even to the extent comparable to the monsters of the same realm, but also improve the affinity to the thunder spirit. Before, Li Ming did not show any characteristics, and Li Zhirui thought that he had practiced a physical cultivation method, so his physical body was so strong. The reason why Li Zhirui was optimistic about him was that in addition to his strong physical body, he also had the majestic mana in his body and the fighting talent he showed in the previous competition. Some special spiritual body. Li Mingzi couldn't tell it in a short time, but he frowned and said, but if I remember correctly, Li Ming didn't have a spiritual body before. Just looking at the name, you can tell that the two of them, including Li Minghuang and Li Mingquan, or the generation that is now the backbone of the family, are the generation of names. When Li Mingzi first became the patriarch, he thought about promoting some of the same generation of clansmen to control the family as soon as possible, so he went to look through their files. Li Ming has the dual spiritual roots of thunder and fire. As one of the best among his peers, she would naturally pay more attention to him. If Li Mingzi remembered correctly, there was no record of his spiritual body in the file. Did something go wrong when testing the spirit, or was it some other reason? For example, encountering some kind of opportunity. There are spiritual bodies that are awakened after birth, but they are very rare. After all, this kind of natural treasure is definitely the top one. Li Mingzi lowered her eyes and pondered. If it was the latter, it could only be said that Li Mingke was lucky, but if it was the former, the situation would be complicated. It could be that there was a problem with a magic weapon, or it could be man-made. Thinking of this, Li Mingzi's heart was ignited with a raging fire. You know, testing the spirit is related to the foundation and future of the family. If there is a problem, it means that the qualifications of some of the family members have been covered up or tampered with. This matter must be thoroughly investigated. Li Mingzi decided to investigate the matter after the family competition was over. While she was distracted, Li Mingke had already defeated Li Minghuang successfully. However, seeing that he was out of breath, it was clear that he had paid a lot of price to win. After a few hours, Li Mingke was fully recovered, and the second match began. After seeing Li Mingke's strength, Li Mingquan dared not underestimate this unknown brother. At the beginning of the fight, he summoned 2 spirit beasts, and his magical powers were ready to be used at any time. After countless battles, Li Mingquan and the 2 spirit beasts had a very high degree of coordination, not to mention that they were already 3rd-level spirit beasts, with great intelligence, and could fully understand human words. At the beginning of the competition, the battle situation was controlled by Li Mingquan, who seized the initiative. With the cooperation of the 2 spirit beasts, Li Mingke was forced to fall off the competition platform several times. Of course, Li Mingke would not give up. His hands flew and various complex spells were cast. Suddenly, 3 dark clouds formed, each of which struck out thunder, and bombarded continuously. For a while, the 2 sides were in a stalemate, and neither could do anything to the other. Roar! Li Mingke was the first to lose control and used the thunder god Dharma that defeated Li Minghong. However, because his mana was consumed very quickly and the pressure on his body was also very high, he had to end the battle as soon as possible. Boom! Thunder roared, and Li Mingke, who was electrified, ran away, but in Li Mingquan's eyes, it was like a flash of lightning. His eyes could not see clearly at all, and he could only barely capture it with his spiritual sense. Bang! When Li Mingwen realized that something was wrong, he put up a defense, and with a defense of the spirit beast, it looked very safe. But in front of the violent thunder god, it only took a moment for the two defensive spells to be smashed to pieces, and Li Mingwen was completely exposed. Are you still unwilling to admit defeat? The next moment, Li Mingwen felt something was wrong, and a burst of terrifying lightning burst out from his body, directly knocking Li Mingwen, who wanted to sneak attack him, away. Ahem, Li Mingwen fell to the ground, his eyes full of reluctance, but losing is losing, no matter what he thought in his heart. In his current state, he could not beat Li Mingwen at all. The battle between Li Mingwen and Li Minghong was not paid much attention by the clan members. People always only paid attention to the first place, and would not care who is the second or third place. With the end of the last battle, the family competition ended successfully. The unknown Li Mingwen, who had made a name for himself, became the leader of the new generation of the family. As for why it was not Li Mingwen, his qualifications were too amazing, and he had broken through the nascent soul early, so they subconsciously would not regard him as a peer of themselves. In the battle between Li Minghong and Li Mingwen, the former was superior in skills and defeated the other party, winning the second place in the competition. However, Li Minghong was very dissatisfied with this ranking, even though he was not much different from the first place in terms of resources. He made up his mind that he would definitely drive Li Mingwen out of the competition next year. Li Mingwen was even more unwilling to accept this, as he only got a third place. The modified competition has mobilized the enthusiasm of all the clan members, and with the carrot of the competition hanging in front of them, the family can still guarantee a good cultivation environment in the short term. As for whether there will be problems over time, that is for sure. After all, things are not static, but are changing every moment, and there is no set of methods that can continue forever. After the family competition ended, Li Mingzi sent people to investigate the part of the clan members who managed the spirit test conference, and called Li Mingzi at the same time. Mingzi, what's the matter with your spirit body? When I looked at the family archives, there was no record that you have a spirit body. Did you get it later when you were training outside? Li Mingzi drove all the others out of the hall and asked seriously. No, Li Mingzi shook his head and said, in fact, I also accidentally discovered that I have a spirit body, when he was still relatively weak. He encountered a monster that was stronger than him. In desperation, he learned the moves of the current incarnation of Thunder God, and then he escaped successfully. Li Mingzi's eyes flickered, and it was unknown what he was thinking. After a long time, he came back to his senses and said, sorry, I was lost in thought just now. Okay, I understand. Please go. After asking the questions, Li Mingzi had no need to stay. When Zhang Fengwu was the only one left in the hall, his voice became very clear. Now it depends on whether we can find evidence from those clansmen. If the evidence is conclusive, then their fate will be very miserable. To tamper with the spirit test means to dig up the foundation of the Li family. No matter what their purpose or reason is, without Li Zhirui's instructions, they will be punished most severely. Chapter 819 Shock. After more than half a month of careful investigation, Li Mingzi determined that the incident with Li Mingzi was not a mistake, but someone did it on purpose. The purpose is very simple, that is, to transfer the qualifications of some clansmen without background to their own faction, so as to obtain more resources from the family. You know, the Li family has never cancelled the fertility reward, that is, the better the qualifications of the offspring, the less resources will be obtained. In addition, there are other resource tilts, such as the family's key training, etc. And the places where they make moves are mostly in the purity of the spiritual roots, which is not easy to detect. After all, whether it is the number of spiritual roots or the spiritual body, it is too easy to expose. The reason why Li Mingzi's spiritual body was hidden was mainly because the Li family got a 4th grade thunder attribute spirit beast egg that year, and in the elder faction, there was a 3rd spirit root with a very high purity of thunder spirit root, who happened to break through the golden elixir and lacked a 2nd contracted spirit beast. With his background and cultivation, if nothing unexpected happens, this spirit beast egg will be arranged for him. But that year, Li Mingzi detected the dual spiritual roots of thunder and fire, plus the Quile spirit body. With such outstanding qualifications, the family is likely to seal the spirit beast egg with secret methods for a few years, waiting for Li Mingzi to formally practice. As a last resort, the elder had to take the risk of hiding Li Mingzi's spirit body to remove this hidden danger. Although hundreds of years have passed, Li Mingzi has risen strongly as a dark horse, which has attracted the attention of Li Mingzi, who began to investigate the truth behind it. Li Mingzi now wants to arrest all the people involved immediately, but looking at the long list, she finally fell into silence. Even though the patriarchs of recent generations have been committed to clearing the factional forces of the family, this kind of thing is impossible to really solve. The Li family has developed to the present, although the source of blood comes from one person. In fact, there is no blood relationship between most of the clan members. And this is also a problem that must be faced after the family power develops to a certain extent. Naturally, those clan members who are close in blood will be closer than other clan members, and then slowly hold together. Once this happens, other people will slowly contact and gather together, whether for the purpose of confrontation or to protect their own interests. In fact, if you have to say it, Li Zhirui's family is the largest faction in the Li family. The only one who has reached the state of transformation, his Taoist partner and a pair of children are all Yuanying, plus those contracted spirit beasts. They account for more than half of the family's strength. Fortunately, Li Zhirui's family has only 4 people, and they have always been low-key. They don't show up when they can. Otherwise, the factions would not be so quiet, and they would have fought for power. The faction that Li Mingzi wanted to take action is relatively strong in the family. There are several giant clansmen and a powerful elder. After the Li family spread out its stall, more and more affairs needed to be handled. The original elders were short of manpower. So a group of elders who specialized in handling a certain matter were born, which was jokingly called the Little Elders by the clan members. And the elders of internal affairs and external affairs are the powerful elders. Each of them holds the power of a certain direction of the Li family. I'm afraid I have to ask Ruzu to help. Li Mingzi didn't want to disturb the old ancestors' practice, but this matter was serious, and she, as the clan leader, might not be able to solve it. It was 2 days later when Li Mingzi met Li Zhirui. She briefly summarized the matter, and then sat quietly, waiting for Li Zhirui to make a decision. More than 100 years, Li Zhirui sighed calmly, but Li Mingzi's heart trembled. Although she didn't have much contact with Ruzu, she also learned about this old ancestor's temper from the previous clan leader. For example, when he was really angry, he didn't fly into a rage, but was like the calm sea surface, and under the sea surface were bred storms that no one could withstand. How many clan members' qualifications have they modified? How much family resources have they seized? Li Mingzi replied hurriedly. According to preliminary statistics, there are more than 500 clan members whose qualifications have been tampered with, and the resources are no less than tens of millions of spirit stones. Well, I see, Li Zhirui responded lightly, and asked, did they find out when you were investigating this matter? No, I mobilized the Dark Department. You will hand over to me the list of all clan members involved in this matter, regardless of their status or cultivation level. Then, Li Zhirui's voice became ethereal and light, but it entered Li Mingzi's ears word by word. Call back all the clan members who can be summoned. Li Mingzi was horrified. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead. His throat seemed to be grasped by someone. After a long while, he uttered a hoarse yes. Li Zhirui sent her out of the secret realm. Looking at the lake with a few white lotuses, he murmured to himself, why don't you know how to restrain your desires? He felt that he had been very good to those factions. He just suppressed them, and did not really attack them. He never deducted the benefits and resources they deserved. But even so, they still didn't know how to be satisfied. After Li Mingzi left the spiritual realm, she found that she was sweating all over, which made her very uncomfortable, but she did not stop at all and returned to the hall as quickly as possible. Ding ding ding, a series of 9 consecutive bell sounds shocked all the clansmen on Banyan Island. What happened? Could it be that a god wants to attack the family? All the clansmen were panic-stricken, and all kinds of terrible thoughts emerged in their minds. You know, the 9 bells will only ring when the family is in danger of being exterminated and overthrown. Even when Li Zhirui broke through the god, the Li family only rang 7 times. And the bell sound also spread to all the family stations in Wangxian's Hao along the sound transmission array. All the clan members had to put down their affairs and rush back to Banyan Island. A series of spiritual lights appeared in the sky above Wangxian's Hao, like a grand meteor shower, and their destination was the huge island in the east. What big thing happened to the Li family? With such a huge momentum, it was naturally impossible to hide it from the eyes of the cultivators from all sides. Of course, the Li family did not think of hiding it. The meteors in the sky shocked all the cultivators. They only knew that the Li family was powerful before, but now they have a more accurate understanding. You said that all the cultivators of the Li family have left now, which means that those market towns, spiritual fields, mines, the cultivator said, his voice unconsciously lowered, his eyes occupied by greed. There are no cultivators stationed at all. If you want to die, I can help you. The companion on the side was calm, and said gloomily, don't implicate us and the family. Chapter 820 Fear. Do you really think that after the Li family cultivators left, there would be no defense force in any place? Since the Li family dared to do this, they must have defensive means. For cultivators like them who are bound by family and sect, if they dare to take advantage of others, they will die without knowing how they died when the Li family withdraws their hands. We can't do it, but independent cultivators can. We can be masked robbers for once, and I don't know how much resources we can earn for the family, the man still said unconvinced. Could it be that the Li family can see through our appearance through the black scarf? The man who originally looked at the matter calmly was also a little moved after hearing this. Just like he said, as long as they cover up well, the Li family will not be able to recognize their whereabouts, and they can also get a lot of resources. The most important thing is that we can hide some resources for ourselves when we act outside. Don't you want to go one step further? I heard that the immortal cities built by the Li family all have golden elixirs. As soon as these words came out, the greed and desire deep in the heart of the man were completely aroused. You're right. As long as we are careful and disguised as independent cultivators, the Li family can't do anything to us, but they couldn't imagine how much disaster their decision would bring to them and their families soon. And there were far more cultivators who had this plan than just the two of them. A large number of independent cultivators and vassal cultivators had similar ideas and put them into action. For a time, Wangxian's Hao, except for the Li family's base camp and the two open market islands nearby, was in chaos. Various markets and immortal cities were in turmoil. The powerful shops could still resist, but those small shops could hardly survive this turmoil. At the same time, Banyan Island, except for more than 1,000 clansmen who were training outside and closed in the Death Gate, all the remaining clansmen, including those children who were still polishing their meridians in the Linghu Academy and had not formally practiced, a total of more than 9,000 people, all came to the square. The originally very wide square was now packed with people, and all the clansmen were tightly together, because only in this way could they accommodate everyone. What big event did you say happened in the family? They ordered all the clan members to attend, otherwise they would be convicted of treason, an old man asked. Who knows? This was an order suddenly issued by the clan leader. When we received the news, we were also caught off guard. When we rushed to the family hall, we found that the hall had been completely closed and the clan leader did not come out to see us at all. Standing next to him was the elder of this generation, who answered respectfully. It seems that Ruzu is going to make some big move. This guess is not difficult to infer, because in the entire Li family, the only person who can make the clan leader Li Mingzi do such a shocking thing is Li Zhirui. But a moment later, Li Zhirui appeared in front of all the clan members with Li Mingzi. Greetings to Ruzu. Clan leader, whether it was the octogenarians or the children, they all bowed to Li Zhirui. But some clan members who peeped at Li Zhirui's face were extremely terrified. You know, whenever Li Zhirui appeared in front of the tribesmen, his expression was gentle, with a smile, making people feel close to him, but now he was as gloomy as water, with a face as cold as frost. Li Mingzi, who knew a little more information than others, was in a daze at this time. He had never thought that the situation would develop to such a solemn and serious level. The next moment, their guess was verified. And this time, Li Zhirui did not speak to let them get up, nor did he help them up. He just said in a voice as cold as the ice of 10,000 years, Mingzi, tell me everything you have investigated. Li Mingzi tried her best to suppress her trembling voice, and told the story of the tribesmen's qualifications being modified in a calm tone. Plop! As soon as Li Mingzi started, some of the tribesmen in the crowd trembled all over. When she finished speaking, these people seemed to have their bones pulled out, and they all collapsed to the ground with despair. The tribesmen around them looked at them with shock, anger, and fear, and then subconsciously retreated away, fearing that they would be regarded as accomplices. It seems that some tribesmen already know who you are talking about. Li Zhirui's voice was like the coldest and biting wind in winter, which made all the tribesmen shudder. Hundreds of years. You have been doing this thing that has damaged the foundation of the family and eroded the interests of the family for hundreds of years. During this period, I don't know how many tribesmen have been deprived of the resources they deserve, and I don't know how many resources have been snatched and stolen from the family. Li Zhirui's heart already had a volcano that was about to erupt, but he tried his best to suppress it, so he didn't let it erupt. But even so, the pressure of the incarnation leaked from him still made all the tribesmen tremble. You are the family's biggest enemy and the one that should be eliminated the most, Ruzu. Ruzu. I know I was wrong. I beg you to spare my life, please spare my life, Ruzu, for the sake of my lifelong contribution to the family, Ruzu, I was not involved in this matter. Li Zhirui defined their crimes and consequences. He looked at their wailing, crying and begging for mercy indifferently and said, all those who participated in it will be sent to Zuanbingzhou and will not be allowed to leave for the rest of their lives. They will have to work as laborers. They can only return to Banyan Island after they die. Those who enjoy related benefits will be punished according to the amount of benefits. At the same time, they must return to the family for all the interests they have violated. If they cannot make up for it, they will be imprisoned and forced to refine various spiritual objects for the family. Similarly, they will never be able to leave Banyan Island again. In fact, Li Zhirui wanted to kill them all and cleanse them thoroughly at the beginning, but he reduced their punishment considering that they were also part of the family. All the clan members present were slightly relieved after hearing the verdict. Although they were placed under house arrest for life, or became slaves, they were at least alive. I know that many of you are from this faction or that faction, but then, Li Zhirui's words raised the hearts of most clan members again. I don't object to you forming cliques, but Li Zhirui's pressure was fully released, especially against the top leaders of those factions, saying, if you dare to infringe on and damage the interests of the family, I can tell you for sure that your end will definitely be more miserable and unbearable than theirs. Don't think I really won't kill people, so, before I start investigating, you'd better honestly return the resources that you have illegally obtained from the family in various ways over the years. Chapter 821 Greed. The scene was silent, no one dared to speak, even the breathing was deliberately lightened. Li Zhirui slowly withdrew his pressure and said, the tribesmen stationed outside, if you have nothing to do, go back first. I believe that during the time you are away, there will be many daring monks, so what you have to do is to find them out, and if you can solve it yourself, do it directly, without any worries, and bring them all back. The many mines of Zuanbing sects still lack a large number of laborers. If you can't, then report to the family. After saying that, Li Zhirui disappeared. Some tribesmen who remained awake did not dare to hesitate at all, fearing that they would be suspected, and left the square as quickly as possible. Other tribesmen reacted and left in a hurry. But in a moment, the crowded square was left with only those tribesmen who were named. They were forced to take a poison pill. If they did not take the antidote regularly, their souls would be damaged within a day and become demented. Some tribesmen who mixed in the crowd were hesitant, not knowing whether they should take out their gray income over the years. This is not a small amount of money. Moreover, after so many years, they have already spent it all, and now they can't take it out at all. At the same time, they also have a certain fluke mentality in their hearts. After all, after so many years, there are many tribesmen who do this kind of thing. Can they really investigate themselves? For these tribesmen who are still living in fantasy, Li Zhirui will naturally not warn them again. The consequences they have to bear at that time will tell them how stupid and naive their current fantasy is. In fact, Li Zhirui did not leave, but hid his body. He used his powerful spiritual sense to see the changes in the expressions of all the tribesmen. He could also guess what some tribesmen were thinking. In this regard, Li Zhirui did not show a disappointed expression, because this is human nature, but it will not change his determination to rectify it ruthlessly. Although Li Zhirui knew in his heart that this kind of deterrence would not last too long, perhaps more than 100 years, or even less than that long, when the fear subsided in their hearts, there would definitely be another group of tribesmen who stole the interests of the family. This is impossible to completely ban. Li Zhirui shook his head. Let's talk about the future later. The most important thing is to solve these problems in front of us. In a certain market in Wangxianzhou, the palace where the Li family monks lived, a group of masked monks were silently attacking the formation in front of them. No one talked, but they cooperated very well. It took less than half an hour to finally break this third-level formation. Everyone rushed forward and ran to the warehouse, the alchemy room and other places where spiritual objects were stored at the fastest speed. Forming the golden elixir, someone suddenly exclaimed, and the sound was so loud that it spread throughout the palace and entered the ears of all the masked monks. Damn it, in front of that person, there was a stronger foundation-building monk. Seeing that the news was exposed, he didn't care too much and rushed over to take the jade bottle away. But he never expected that there was a warning formation where the jade bottle was placed. Although it was not difficult to break, it still stopped him for a moment. And the huge sound also allowed other monks to find the right direction. Put down the Jinden, the first group of monks who rushed in saw him take the jade bottle and disappeared in an instant. It was obvious that he had put it into a storage bag. Humph, how could he give up so easily in the face of the huge temptation of the Jinden? With a cold snort, he wanted to break out of the siege from the window on the other side. But he didn't expect that the area was surrounded by monks from all sides. Damn it! Even if he was unwilling, he couldn't escape at all in the current situation. He could only honestly throw out the Jinden. It instantly caused all the monks to scramble for it, and also revealed a flaw in the siege. No. This is not the Jinden. The monk who got the jade bottle at the fastest speed, used his spiritual sense to explore and found that he was fooled. He suddenly blew up the jade bottle and wanted to continue chasing the man. But in just a few breaths, the man had disappeared. This kind of internal fighting between masked monks is not the only one. They fought for all kinds of precious spiritual objects, and were blinded by greed. They didn't consider staying too long to reflect. What should they do when the Li family monks come back? After they looted all the spiritual objects in the market, they recalled this matter of life and death with horror. But when they think of escaping now, it's too late. When the Li family dispatched the Yunjing spirit ship and sent all the resident monks back at the fastest speed, most of the market in Fairy City had Li family monks returning. And they never thought that the market in Fairy City built by the Li family also arranged a set of trap array. So that they wanted to escape now, but found that they bumped into the array and couldn't leave at all. Of course, not everyone was left behind. Some of the calmer monks had already fled before this. It's over. Why did they come back so soon? Did something big happen to the Li family? I shouldn't have been so greedy, otherwise I wouldn't have ended up in danger of my life. Unfortunately, it's too late to regret now. According to Li Zhirui's instructions, all the captured monks had their danshan and souls sealed, and they were transported back by the Yunjing spirit ship that returned to Banyan Island soon. But before that, there was one more thing they needed to deal with. That is to investigate the identities and origins of these monks who took action. If they are homeless cultivators, the Li family can't do anything. But if they are monks with families and sects, then I'm sorry, the spiritual objects lost by the Li family will be compensated by them. Refuse? Of course you can, but as for the consequences, you have to see if you can bear them. After all, since you are unwilling to take the initiative to compensate, it's okay for the Li family to collect it by force. A few days later, a Jinden sect in Wangxianzhou, a Li family Jinden, with several foundation-building clan members, came to the door and informed them that they needed to compensate for the share of the Li family's losses. In fact, it's not much. After all, there are many vassal forces in Wangxianzhou, only 200,000 spirit stones. But this is also relative. A Jinden force can't earn many spirit stones in a year. The head of the Jinden sect had a bitter face and pleaded, "Can we ask the sect to exempt some of it? We don't know what those evil disciples have done, and we expelled them from the sect immediately." Li Jinden looked indifferent and said, "We have reduced a part of the spirit stone compensation because of your good attitude. Otherwise, do you think it was only 200,000? Hearing this, the head of the sect didn't dare to say anything else. He could only curse in his heart those disciples who brought disaster to the sect. Chapter 822 Quiet. But he forgot that when those disciples reported the matter, his ambiguous attitude and even his words of seduction hinted at their actions secretly. That is, the Li family did not want to care too much, otherwise he, the head of the sect, would probably be dragged to Zuanbingzhou to be a minor. At the same time, such things happened all over Wangxianzhou. Some, like this head of the sect, although unwilling in their hearts, still honestly paid the compensation spirit stones, but some forces were unwilling, and even wanted to take action against the Li family monks who came to collect the spirit stones. Fortunately, when they were doing this, Li Mingzi warned them to be careful and be ready to take action at any time. After all, there are always some people who like to take risks. The Jinden monks who were cultivated by the Li family with great effort could not die in this situation. Waiting for this kind of unwilling forces, the Li family changed their previous gentle attitude and directly sent a large number of monks to break through the mountain gate and forcibly collect the spirit stones. All the monks of the entire force were taken away. Wang Xian's Hao, which was already turbulent, became even more panicked and complained after the Li family made several moves. A large number of scattered cultivators fled to other places, and even some vassal forces thought of migrating. But the Li family did not stop the collection because of these. Casual cultivators come and go, and they will come back for benefits in a few years. After all, they can buy cheap spiritual objects in Wang Xian's Hao, and there are several places suitable for practicing qi, building foundation, golden elixir training, and obtaining resources. Moreover, the Li family never treats or exploits casual cultivators harshly. This alone is something that many places cannot do. In the eyes of many big forces, casual cultivators are just weeds, and they can be stepped on at will, and they are not regarded as human beings at all. Therefore, at most, the Li family will earn less spiritual stones from casual cultivators in the past few years, which will not have any impact. As for those forces that want to migrate and move, it doesn't matter. First of all, it is rare to see unknown spiritual veins in the wild. Even if there are, most of them are first-level spiritual veins that have just been born and have not been discovered yet. Without spiritual veins, there would be no stable environment for disciples and clansmen to practice. Would they be asked to go to the fairy city or the market? I don't know how many spiritual stones it would cost in a day. Secondly, there are countless independent cultivators who want to establish a power, but they have no choice because they don't have spiritual veins. As long as they vacate those spiritual veins, the Li family can re-establish a vassal power at any time. Or the Li family can directly control and develop it. Now the Li family has no shortage of cultivators. Facts have proved that those forces that want to migrate are just talking, and none of them have taken action. While some clansmen are busy collecting spiritual stones, others are also on Banyan Island, obediently handing over the benefits they stole from the family. In view of the fact that many clansmen have used up all the resources, Li Mingzi thought about it and decided to let them contribute to the development of the family to make up for the lack of resources. A month passed in a busy month. Ruizu, this is the list of clansmen who handed in resources and the estimated value. Li Mingzi handed over a few jade slips respectfully. Li Zhirui stretched out his hand to take it, and quickly scanned it with his spiritual sense, muttering, "Thousands of clansmen, tens of millions of spirit stones. They are so brave, I think there must be some clansmen who are hoping for a lucky break. You ask the Anbu to investigate carefully and catch a few with serious cases and give them a fair trial?" After suppressing the anger in his heart, Li Zhirui said coldly. Li Mingzi's eyes were full of bitterness, but she could not disobey and could only agree. When she told Li Zhirui about Li Ming's affairs, she did not think it would be so serious and affect so many people. And after setting up a few examples, some clansmen handed over resources. Do you think Ruzu wants to completely break up our factions? In several places on Banyan Island, the various factions within the Li family were discussing whether Li Zhirui would continue after he decisively and sharply solved a large faction. It's possible, otherwise how could Ruizu say those ambiguous words? My thoughts are exactly the opposite of yours. Ruizu has no such intention. Those words are just warning us, telling us to be honest in the future. The man talked freely and continued, because Ruizu knows that the factional issues are impossible to resolve. Even if we are forcibly separated, we will still gather again for various reasons. It is better to loosen than to block. Ruizu must know this. These words comforted some monks. After all, most people always think things are better. In this way, time passed quickly in turmoil and silence, and 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. After solving the trivial matters of the family, Li Zhirui went into seclusion and quietly refined Yuan Qi in the spiritual realm to improve his realm. For a cultivator of the spirit transformation, 3 years is still too short, and there will be no great progress at all. However, cultivation is a long process of perseverance and perseverance. Li Zhirui accepted it well, and his state of mind was not a problem. According to my current cultivation speed, it will take another 100 years to break through, but at the same time, I have to spend time preparing for the wind and fire inner tribulation, Li Zhirui muttered to himself. The wind and fire inner tribulation are two obstacles in the process of spiritual transformation. Only by solving them can we continue to move forward. But at the same time, they are also an indispensable tempering. Without the polishing of the wind and fire inner tribulation, the soul cannot become a yang god. Finally back, after trekking through mountains and rivers, going through all kinds of hardships, And spending several years, Zhang Fengwu finally returned to Wangxin Island from the central region. And her current state is several times better than when she was in the capital of Ningguo. Her eyes are shining, and the aura around her body is looming, as if she will merge into the world in the next moment. This can be said to be Zhang Fengwu's biggest gain in the past 3 years. She successfully completed the God in heaven and earth. Next, you just need to follow the steps: select the law, infect the law, imprint the origin, and finally get out of the sea of laws. After completing these, there is only one last step left: to cross the tribulation. I wonder how Shenzhe and Shui are doing. Zhang Fengwu was thinking about her 2 children, but she didn't care much about Li Zhirui. Because with Li Zhirui's status and strength, she didn't need to care about him. When Zhang Fengwu walked into Wangxin Island, she was surprised to find that there seemed to be fewer people on the island. You know, for so many years, the growth of the Li family's cultivators has been maintained at a very high level. She has been away for so many years, there should be so many cultivators on Wangxin Island. Why is the opposite situation happening now? Could it be that a war broke out? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 823: Sincerity. Zhang Fengwu went to the purification spirit realm with doubts in his heart. It happened that Li Zhirui had just refined a purification yuan the day before, so he came out to greet him as soon as he received the news. The first time he saw Zhang Fengwu, Li Zhirui guessed her current state, and his face was full of joy. He said, "Fengwu, congratulations on your upcoming breakthrough to the God of Transformation. It's still early." Zhang Fengwu smiled and shook his head. The two chatted while walking into the spirit realm. Zhang Fengwu asked about the things that need to be paid attention to when breaking through the God of Transformation. Li Zhirui naturally told him everything he knew and said all his experiences and feelings one by one. After finishing this most important thing, Zhang Fengwu asked curiously, "On the way here, I found that there seemed to be fewer people on Wangxin Island. Did the family encounter a war in recent years?" "No." After a pause, Li Zhirui still told him about his handling of some of the family members. "I see," Zhang Fengwu suddenly realized, but her reaction was very flat, because this kind of thing had nothing to do with her. "I will go back to the cave to rest for a few days, and then prepare to retreat and attack the God of Transformation." After Zhang Fengwu finished talking about his plan, he stood up and left. In this matter, Li Zhirui has helped as much as he can. Whether it will succeed depends on Zhang Fengwu himself. All he can do now is to bless him. "I don't know when Shenzhe and Shui are planning to come back," Li Zhirui murmured. "They have been away from the family for many years, and it is impossible for them to be at the critical moment of realm breakthrough like Zhang Fengwu. After all, they have just broken through the nascent soul not long ago. The main purpose of training outside is to improve their Taoism and polish their Taoism. It's time for them to come back. As for danger, they are already nascent soul cultivators, plus they have broken through the 4th level contracted spirit beasts. Unless they encounter the God of Transformation or are ambushed, there will be no danger in general. And from the fact that their life cards are still intact, Li Zhirui is not very worried about their safety." Throwing these things that he can't solve out of his mind, Li Zhirui continued to return to the spiritual realm to practice quietly. About half a year has passed. On this day, Li Zhirui had just finished his training when he received a surprise. The first 4th level Earth Escape Talisman that Li Mingyao had been comprehending for many years was successfully refined. After Li Mingyao broke through the nascent soul, he was the only nascent soul talisman maker in the family, and he happened to have the spiritual root of heaven and earth, and his attributes were perfectly matched. So Li Zhirui immediately gave him the method of drawing the 4th level Earth Escape Talisman, hoping that he could learn this high-level life-saving talisman as soon as possible without delaying his training. "Thank you for your hard work over the years." Li Mingyao shook his head and said, "Ruizu, don't say that. The process of comprehending the Earth Escape Talisman is also a kind of practice for me. It is precisely because of the Earth Escape Talisman that my training speed is so amazing." Indeed, although Li Mingyao has not yet broken through the middle stage of the nascent soul, he has already gone through more than half of it. You know, it took him only 20 to 30 years to break through the nascent soul. Such an amazing training speed, even Li Zhirui is a little envious. This earth soil is a spiritual object I once obtained. It may be of some help to your cultivation. Li Zhirui took out a top earth element treasure that he accidentally obtained that year. He wanted to integrate it into the space at first, but he thought that the space was already very mysterious. Even if it was integrated with the soil, it would probably not be much improved. Instead, it would be a bit of a waste of heaven's gift, so he kept it. I can't take it. Although Li Mingayao was very tempted, this earth soil could help him better comprehend the earth and would be of great help to his own cultivation. But he still refused. Just consider it as a gift from me to congratulate you on your breakthrough to the nascent soul. Li Zhirui put the earth soil into Li Mingayao's arms without question. Although this treasure is precious, it is not very useful to him. Keeping it in his hands would also be a treasure covered in dust. It is better to give it to a tribe member who needs it and can provide great help. I'm going to give you a task now, Li Zhirui said solemnly. I hope you can figure out the method of drawing the third level Earth Escape Talisman. The Li family now has first level, second level and fourth level Earth Escape Talismans, but there is no third level one. Because no force will sell the third level Earth Escape Talisman to the outside world, because it is a real life-saving spiritual object. In fact, if Li Zhirui hadn't been lucky enough to encounter the invasion of the Yuanhao realm, and had Yuxu's help to perfect the recipe of Ronqi Yuandan, the Li family would never have been able to get the fourth level Earth Escape Talisman. The fourth level Earth Escape Talisman has a better effect. After using it, it can directly escape from the range of the consciousness of the divine transformation cultivator, and its life-saving ability is greatly improved. But the problem is that the cost is too high. A fourth level Earth Escape Talisman requires fourth level talisman paper, which is made of animal skin or fourth level spiritual herbs, and fourth level spiritual ink and fourth level talisman pen. Moreover, the Earth Escape Talisman is very complicated, and a skilled talisman maker can only refine 2 a day. It is impossible for the Li family to give a fourth level Earth Escape Talisman to every member of the clan with good qualifications and the hope of reaching the nascent soul and divine transformation, right? This is simply unrealistic. I'm afraid that only those who are truly in the state of transformation can do this, and they will only give out seeds of transformation. So they can only settle for the second best and distribute the third order Earth Escape Talisman to those important clansmen. However, because there is no method to draw, the Li family has to spend a lot of spirit stones every year to buy it from the Nanaya Chamber of Commerce and the Zhuanfa Pavilion. Now that Li Mingayao has learned the fourth order Earth Escape Talisman, combined with the first order and second order Earth Escape Talismans he has learned long ago, perhaps he can deduce the missing third order Earth Escape Talisman. Li Mingayao said with a firm face, Ruizu, don't worry, I can definitely complete the task. Of course I believe you can do it, but this is not something that can be completed in a short time, Li Zhirui said seriously, and it is very likely to delay your cultivation, but this can allow me to better understand the law of Earth, which will be of great benefit to my future cultivation. Li Zhirui was stunned when he heard this, and then laughed. Good. As expected of my Li family son. I should have this kind of ambition. Li Mingayao, Li Xiangxin. Li Zhirui seemed to have seen the scene of them breaking through the state of transformation hundreds of years later. If you have any questions about cultivation in the future, feel free to come to the spirit realm and ask me. For this reason, Li Zhirui naturally did not hesitate to support him. Please accept these bottles of top-grade precious pills that I refined not long ago. Just consider it as my support for you as an elder. This ancestor, Li Mingayao really didn't expect to have such an unexpected gain. What he said just now was all from the bottom of his heart. Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Li Zhirui. The elders give, and you cannot refuse. With Li Zhirui's hundreds of years of experience and vision, how could he not see Li Mingayao's sincerity? Otherwise, how could he care so much? Chapter 824 Surprise. Since Li Zhirui opened up the purification realm, he has tried every possible way to increase the purification laws in the realm, and his efforts have not been in vain. With the combined efforts of various spiritual objects, the purification laws in the realm have reached their limit. Li Zhirui can sense the existence of the laws at any time, which is of great help to his cultivation. But these are not the most surprising things for Li Zhirui. The biggest thing is that the spiritual realm has begun to derive very pure purification primordial key. You know, the cultivation of the incarnation cultivator is to refine and integrate the primordial key of heaven and earth. And the primordial key of heaven and earth is, to a certain extent, a derivative of the law, That is, it exists in every corner of heaven and earth, but it is relatively sparse and extremely mixed. It is precisely because of this that the cultivation of the incarnation cultivator is so difficult and slow. It is extremely difficult to extract the one you need from the thousands of primordial ki. Although Li Zhirui created and perfected the Ronqi Yuandan, and had a precious elixir that accelerated the cultivation of the divine transformation cultivators, this was actually based on the main medicine and the Yuan Qi that was fused by itself, and with the help of the special effects of Rongxi grass, it accelerated the extraction of the kind of Yuan Qi that one needed from the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth. This method is indeed effective, but it is still far inferior to the pure Yuan Qi that was slowly born in front of him. Because Li Zhirui can directly skip the extraction of Yuan Qi from heaven and earth, and directly refine and fuse this purified Yuan Qi. No wonder those top powers have never stopped having cultivators ascending. It turns out that there is such an important secret in the spiritual realm. Li Zhirui couldn't help but sigh. Of course, those big forces cannot monopolize this situation. After all, it is definitely not uncommon for cultivators like Li Zhirui to pile up spiritual objects and want to increase the laws of the spiritual realm. It's just that all the forces that know about this have tacitly concealed it. Because this requires a large number of spiritual objects to do it, and spiritual objects are limited. One more competitor means spending more spiritual stones. No wonder the family hasn't bought a fifth-order spiritual plant in all these years. It seems that it is monopolized by some big forces. There may be fifth-order spiritual plants in the wild, and they may be discovered by casual cultivators or cultivators of small forces. Not to mention how low the probability is. It is certain that the moment they want to sell spiritual objects, they will be targeted by the relevant big forces. I think there should be fifth-order spiritual plants in the fourth-order secret realm in the boundless sea. Li Zhirui tended to be sure. According to Zhao Qing's brief exploration, the secret realm was rich in spiritual energy, and various monster tribes appeared. The former is a necessary condition for the birth of fifth-order spiritual plants, and the existence of the latter has a certain positive effect on the protection of fifth-order spiritual plants. The whole body of the fifth-order spiritual plant is a treasure. Even if it does not bear fruit, it has other uses. It will definitely be valued and protected by those monsters. I might as well sell this fifth-order wood spiritual plant in my hand to the family, open up the spiritual realm earlier, and produce relevant Yuan Qi earlier. Li Zhirui had this plan a long time ago, but he never implemented it. However, there is another problem that needs to be considered. That is, the law of wood is a law with a huge scope. It is one of the basic laws that support the world. I don't know how many laws have been derived. Strictly speaking, the purification law that Li Zhirui is practicing now is also a derivative of the law of wood. So if the Liuhu spiritual plant is used to open up the spiritual realm, what kind of Yuan Qi will be produced at that time? Li Zhirui does not know. Putting these things that have not happened yet behind his mind, Li Zhirui applied to the family to use a fifth-level spiritual plant to open up a spiritual realm of wood. Li Mingzi and the elders were naturally overjoyed. They have always wanted to open up the spiritual realm, but the high requirements set at the beginning have constrained them. They discussed and came up with a result in the fastest time. That is, the family came forward to buy the spiritual plant in Li Zhirui's hand, and gave a very fair price paid with the family contribution value. Li Zhirui naturally would not object to this. Although he himself could not remember how much contribution value he had, who would complain about such things? After obtaining the consent of the family, Li Zhirui left the spiritual realm and began to look for the most suitable place to open up the wood spiritual realm. When Li Zhirui opened up the purification spiritual realm, he inspected all parts of the family. He had already covered it. Now he just went to verify it. After all, many years have passed. But there was no change, because the Li family would not easily modify the family layout, mainly because it was too complicated and troublesome. So the place where spiritual medicine was planted decades ago is still planting spiritual medicine decades later. The place where Li Zhirui decided to open up the spiritual realm was the spiritual medicine mountain, where the most spiritual medicine was planted on Banyan Island. On this towering mountain, the Li family didn't know how many medicine gardens were built, providing the family with a large number of basic spiritual medicines. Because of Li Zhirui's growth in strength and previous experience, it was a little easier to open up the wood spiritual realm, but his mana was still used up for 2 rounds, but he didn't lose his strength like last time, and he couldn't even hang in the air. After opening up the spiritual realm, Li Zhirui went back and waited quietly for the spiritual realm to stabilize. As time passed, Li Zhirui was obsessed with cultivation and didn't notice that the new spiritual realm had been fully formed. Because he was cultivating, he left a sound transmission note to inform the family of this, and then Li Mingzi led the clan members to visit the spiritual realm. The first thing Li Mingzi and the others saw was naturally the spiritual plant in the center of the spiritual realm. There were many branches, like endless overlapping green leaves, so dense that it was impossible to see the inside clearly. It was just very short, only 5 or 6 feet high, but it exuded an extremely rich vitality. It's a pity that it failed to be promoted to a spiritual root, an elder side. But this is the general and normal situation. The 5-element jade peach was able to be promoted to a spiritual root in the spiritual realm that the Li family first opened up, which was actually abnormal. The space of this spiritual realm seems to be a little bigger. Not only that, it feels like the spiritual energy is also more concentrated. Other clan members paid more attention to other aspects of the spiritual realm, especially those who mainly cultivated wood spiritual roots, who were even more excited. The spiritual realm corresponding to the spiritual root is helpful for cultivation. This matter has long been spread in the family. How can they not be happy? Why open up the wood spiritual realm first? Obviously, there are more clan members with other spiritual roots in the family. Some people are happy, and naturally some are dissatisfied. In fact, many tribesmen have wood spiritual roots, but few people practice it, unless the purity of the wood spiritual roots far exceeds that of other spiritual roots. The reason for this situation is also very simple. The attack power of wood spiritual root cultivators is too poor. Li Zhirui cannot be used as a reference. After all, a large part of his combat power is attributed to those special spiritual vines. But other tribesmen do not have the space to accelerate growth like him, so how can they afford to spread a lot of spiritual vine seeds every time they fight? Chapter 825 Promotion. After all, this is related to everyone's cultivation, so most of the clan members are dissatisfied with opening up the wood spirit realm first, and hope that the family can give a reasonable explanation. Because there is only this 1/5 level spiritual wisdom needed to open up the spiritual realm, and it was Ruzu who sold it to the family at a low price, Li Mingzi looked at everyone indifferently and said, "Are you satisfied with this answer? If you can also produce a 5th level spiritual plant, the family will naturally ask Ruzu to open up the spiritual realm, but if not, then wait patiently for the family to buy a 5th level spiritual plant. There is another way, that is, you break through the spirit transformation and apply for a spiritual cave from the family. At that time, you can use any spiritual plant to open up the spiritual realm." In short, no matter which method they used, it was not something they could do in a short time, so they could only return in disappointment. Afterwards, when Li Zhirui recalled, the wood spirit realm had already been fully formed, and he immediately sent a sound transmission note to Li Mingzi, asking her to focus on planting wood spiritual objects and not to mix in spiritual objects of other attributes. After a few decades, we should know what kind of yuan-qi will be produced. It can be seen from the fact that Li Zhirui did not go there in person, that he was not very concerned about this spiritual realm. After all, there were no geniuses with wood spiritual roots at present, and the spiritual realm had just been opened up, so it was a desolate place. So Li Zhirui sighed and continued to practice. With a pure purification of yuan-qi and the yuan-qi treasure pill, his current cultivation speed can be said to be very fast, and Li Zhirui naturally would not miss such a good opportunity. Unfortunately, the speed of the purification of yuan-qi was very slow, and it could not keep up with Li Zhirui's practice at all, so it would not take long for his practice speed to return to normal. In the final analysis, this matter was still due to the lack of foundation of the Li family. If they had known this secret earlier, if they had opened up the spiritual realm earlier, they would definitely have accumulated some yuan-qi, and Li Zhirui would not have run out of it in just a few months. Time flies, and the days and months pass by like shuttles. In a blink of an eye, a few years have passed. Perhaps because of the reorganization of the family environment and atmosphere have become much clearer. In these few years, the Li family has made great progress and improvement in some aspects. First of all, the overall cultivation and strength of the clan members have improved far more than in previous years. This is partly because of the re-establishment of the family competition, and partly because the qualifications of no clan members have been modified, and the family can accurately focus on cultivating these clan members. In order to prevent anyone from tampering with this spiritual root test, the Li family has arranged a monitoring team on the original basis, and each secret room for testing the purity of spiritual roots and spiritual bodies has been installed with a photostone. Secondly, the output of various spiritual objects in the family has also increased significantly. After all, in order to achieve good results in the family competition, the family's technicians have worked hard to improve their level. Moreover, Li Mingzi also proposed innovation and creation. Innovation refers to making benign modifications to the original methods. Creation is easy to understand, hoping that the technicians can create new and useful methods. Not only are more and more spiritual objects being refined, but the quality is also getting better and better. The casual cultivators who originally fled Wangxianzhao because of the Li family's forced collection of compensation and the negative impact of investigating casual cultivators were vulnerable in the face of real gold and silver, and ran back one after another. The influx of a large number of independent cultivators, in addition to bringing a lot of income, will also lead to chaos in public security. However, the latter problem is still very safe in the market and the fairy city because the Li family has absolute strength to suppress it. Patriarch, last year the family earned a total of 68.5 million spirit stones, with a net profit of 35.7 million and 300 spirit stones. After deducting the monthly salary of the clan members, the spiritual vein promotion and other expenses, there are still 8 million spirit stones in the warehouse. Banyan Island, in the family hall, a group of elders are checking the financial situation of the previous year. I don't understand, I wrote it randomly. How many years has the spiritual vein promotion lasted? Has it not succeeded yet? Li Mingzi looked at it one by one and asked the question he wanted to ask most. This is a very large expenditure. If it can be saved, the family can reserve more spirit stones and increase the monthly salary of the clan members. The key to the spiritual vein promotion lies in the high-quality spirit stones, but the family reserves are insufficient, so we can only purchase them from the outside at a high price, the accounting elder explained. There is no way. I don't know whether the Li family is unlucky or the resources in the corner of the Far East are rare. In short, the huge Wangxianzhao occupied by the Li family has not found a large spiritual stone mine. There are several micro, small, and medium-sized spiritual stone veins, but the probability of digging out high-quality spiritual stones is too low. The Li family has been digging for so many years, but they have only dug out dozens of high-quality spiritual stones, which can only be purchased from the outside world at a high price. In addition, there is another reason. That is, the Li family has used the 5th level puppet several times, which reduced the supply of high-quality spiritual stones and delayed it for several years. The internal affairs elder added, however, according to the exploration of seveal geomancers in the family, the spiritual vein is already on the verge of promotion, and it will be successful in a few years. I hope it can be earlier. Li Mingzi sighed and asked other questions. Li Mingzi would not and did not dare to ask it to stop the spiritual vein promotion, which is a major event related to Li Zhirui's cultivation. Now Li Zhirui's dependence on the family's spiritual energy is very small, because he spends most of his time melting yuanqi and does not let go of absorbing spiritual energy to increase his mana. And he still has space, where the spiritual energy is more concentrated than the 5th level spiritual vein. But the latter cannot be said out loud. Besides, even if Li Zhirui does not need the 5th level spiritual vein, the other spiritual cultivators in the family also need it. Although it is not available now, it is better to upgrade the spiritual vein in advance than to catch up later. Who made the Li family not have a high-level Earth Master now, and there is no way to use the power of the formation to speed up the promotion of the spiritual vein. The only way is to use the dumbest and slowest method, placing spiritual stones on the spiritual vein and waiting for the spiritual vein to absorb it by itself. Rumble. Just as Li Mingzi and the elders continued to discuss family affairs, the ground suddenly broke out with a noticeable tremor. What happened? Is it the earth dragon turning over? An elder said in a trembling voice. No. The family has specially arranged an early warning formation. If it is a ground dragon turning over, the formation cannot have no reaction. Then what's going on? The financial elder seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly his eyes lit up, and said, could it be the spiritual vein that is promoted? Yes. Hearing what he said, the other elders reacted one after another and rushed out of the hall impatiently. Then they saw a colorful spiritual mist gushing out from under the earth, eventually covering the entire spiritual vein. It's really a spiritual vein promotion, an elder said in surprise. The movement of Banyan Island naturally attracted other tribesmen, who ran out to watch this strange phenomenon. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.